All right, everybody. Hello, my name is Kay, and welcome to An OK Life. Today, we're going to be doing a debate on the neutral waters with Casey Lee, IRL, Gorp Sync, Red Radius, and I will be hosting it. Well, I won't be partaking per se in the actual debate parts of it. I will be pushing people into some directions if there's not that much disagreement, or maybe switching topics, or trying to find grounds where people either agree or disagree. Just kind of be a little bit of a guiding force on this, but I think towards the end of the conversation, I might open up about my own feelings on stuff once we start taking in people from outside the panel, since at that point the debate will be for the most part done, and I think it's fair for everybody to kind of get in on that towards the end. Uh, Generally, I want this to be good faith conversations and everybody to come out with a little bit more of an understanding of the other side and the perspective of somebody that disagrees with them. That being said, not everything has to be respectful. A lot of this is sensitive topics, so try to not be super distasteful, but also playing around in the mud is what makes a lot of this debating and topics very fun. So, with that all being, a preface to this conversation, let's start with introductions, starting with Casey, and then we'll go all the way to Red Radius, where you give a little bit of who you are, what you stream. You're going to give yourself a little bit of a shout out for your content, and then generally your political beliefs in general, but then kind of hone it in on the whole Gaza, Trump, third party voting, and everything that we kind of discussed beforehand in Discord.
Okay, I'm Casey the IRL. I am a VTuber, finance nerd, porn advocate, um, and stream politics, and sometimes we do programming, and um, that's mostly it. Yargle. Fuck
Okay,
off, Gorp.
Gorp Sync. Well, actually,
Uh,
you didn't give your political takes there. Let's
Oh, I
rewind
forgot.
it a little bit.
I'm not even sure. Yeah, Biden stuff. Biden is a piece of shit, and I won't be voting for him. Uh, Probably Trump is as well. I mean, Trump is a psycho. I won't be voting for him either. Probably. Convince me otherwise, Trump. Convince me otherwise. Come on. But pro Palestine. Let's go. It's in him somewhere. So, and yeah, and then of course Gaza is West Bank is 50-year going on apartheid and siege, a 20-year siege, and now Israel is bombing their open air prison. Um, was there another topic that
Third party voting.
third party voting? I mean, yeah, I understand like the lefties, like you're wasting your vote, and it doesn't, yeah, that is normally my take. That is normally my take. You are definitely wasting it. It is normally my take, but I just want, I just want to vote for for Biden because of his support for Israel and but yeah, of course, it's that as far as the lefty is concerned, taking over the DNC or the Democratic Party from like sort of within, like the math is there, and it's easier as you have, you just need like a majority of Democrats to be to be on your side, and then you start splitting the vote, and if third party was ever like a real thing or getting to a real thing, it would immediately just start handing like a mass amount of elections over to Republicans who so yeah, although but this coming election cycle, um yeah, I'm much more open to the idea of third party than I usually am.
All right, Gorp Sync.
Hi, I'm Gorps. I talk about current events and politics and talk about almost every genocide that is currently occurring that I can find a documentation on. I also like law. That is where I work and also what I have studied. With that, in regards to Israel Palestine, I don't like a state that does a genocide. I also just more broadly think that a two-state or one-state solution is the only way forward, and some way of reaching that has to be made, or else this will never end. In regards to Trump and Biden, they both are fucking shitbags, and are seconds away from the grave because they're both, what are they, over 80, both of them? Yeah, you're seconds away from the grave. Third-party voting is based because every other candidate is seconds away from the grave, and also eventually, if third party gets enough support, it can do something. That's nothing in like the next couple election cycles by any means, but I support the eventual movement that could give America more than one party. Any others?
Now let's hand it over to Red Radius.
Yeah, so I'm Red Radius. I typically just go by Red. I am liberal for the most part. My positions tend to either end in the progressive camp or the centrist camp. It just depends on what it is. So something like healthcare, I would be more on the progressive side. Something like Israel, I would be more on the centrist side. Typically, I think my content is split almost 50-50 between doing politics stuff and playing games.
Based.
Although that number is a little distorted, I think, because I can't tell what all I've done in the just chatting section. On Israel, Israel and Palestine, I don't think it is technically an apartheid, and I don't think it's technically a genocide. Now, that doesn't mean that I condone everything that's going on, especially in the West Bank. Things are pretty fucked up. We have a really horrible situation unfolding in Gaza. But yeah, I don't think it would fit under genocide. Third parties. Voting third party in presidential election is throwing your vote away. It's kind of dumb, especially if you're voting on Israel, like Israel Gaza, because Trump has indicated in the past that he will literally just let Netanyahu do whatever he wants. If you want to go the third party route, you just build it up locally, go from there. I don't have a conceptual problem with it. I think like coalitions under parliamentary systems are pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
All right. There is somebody that is super pro Israel in the chat, and she's pointing out that there's no one who's more pro Israel. So I was just letting her know that if you guys are more pro Israel and you feel like you're not being represented, there will be time to open it up to a greater conversation with you guys and letting your voice be heard. But I just want to focus in on the three that are here because we all have been kind of in each other's chats. We have a lot of people that overlap, and I think there's enough respect there to have a genuine conversation, but also enough difference to have that friction and entertainment. So just anybody that feels like your side is not being represented, you do get a voice at the end of this. So,
And for all of our chatters, that is in Anna K's Discord. It's in his Neutral Waters Discord. If anybody wants to go over to his account and join that.
End of topic or end of discussion?
do you want to do it per topic where we can take in people, or I was thinking end of the discussion, but I am open to hearing your guys' take on that.
Yeah, when I suggested it in the chat, I was thinking end of discussion, but it might be more focused if we just do end of topic. Set like, I don't know, 10 minutes aside or something.
That seems like fair. Ophelia and anybody else that might want to talk, because I assume we're going to start with the Gaza stuff. The start with the big stuff. Get it out of the way since it is the most contentious there is. Casey and Gorp, are you down with that? Is after this topic, since it's a little bit of a bigger topic, we take in some people.
I would also assume that 10 minutes won't be enough for that if you have enough people calling in. But
yeah,
we can also
whatever.
make it the last topic and then end with it and then have people come in.
Nah, I think after everything that I've gone through this week, and I'm sure Gorp has gone through this week, I think we want to get Gaza.
Okay,
first.
yep. Then let's get Gaza out of the way. The most important one. Alrighty. So again, we're gonna get everybody. We're going to have me go down and ask a few questions to everybody on the panel, and then I'm going to leave it to a conversation between you guys, where if somebody wants to interject after the questions have been answered. Also, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. The horseradish. If anybody wants to interject and then throw in a conversation after the questions have been asked, go ahead, and then we'll go from there. Sound good, everybody?
Mods, can somebody
All
link
right.
his
So
channel
starting with
and then
Casey, do
pin
you
it,
think
please?
that the situation unfolding in Gaza would be classified as a genocide?
Um, I know that I saw Gorp's document and then had like some legal terminology writ and whatever. And that might be where the discussion goes, but I'm very much uninterested in the legal definition of genocide. It's whatever they say about it or whatever. And I see it with my these own eyes every day. Another horrible story. Either every hospital in Gaza has a Hamas tunnel under it, or it's genocide. Either either what Israel says about not getting aid in is true, or they're deliberately starving 2 million people, and it's genocide. Um, I I hope that did you guys catch the video that I dropped into Discord?
I
That
did,
was
yes.
just from last week. IDF soldiers executing a man, two men waving their hands and a white flag. They execute him. They walk over, they call a bulldozer over, and the bulldozer buries their fucking bodies. This is fucking Nazi shit. It's not a debate really to be had. Um it's just it's it's certainly ethnically cleansing, and I think to convey to people what's happening in Gaza, to not use the word genocide is a disservice. And looking back on Gaza now, whatever happens, I know that I won't regret using the fucking word, where I certainly almost assuredly would regret not using it.
Alrighty. Gorp, do you consider this a genocide?
Yes, I mean there is, the Casey argument of you can fucking see it with your own eyes. But even when you go into the legal argument, like half of the possible acts of genocide are being committed. The dolo specialis is shown, given the precedent for how you can prove that. It is pretty. It is more clear cut than most things that are recognized internationally as genocides. So I think with that, you're hard pressed to say it's not. Also, it is an apartheid. It follows the apartheid structure damn near perfectly. So
Alrighty. And then finally, Red Radius.
Okay. I would first off take issue with just calling I don't know, potential killings of civilians unnecessarily Nazi shit. The Nazis had an entire apparatus using their industrial base to carry out the murder of millions of people. They had plans, they had policies, none of which seem to be present in Israel. You can say things are bad without having to invoke genocide. When I say it is not a genocide, unfortunately, Casey, I'm talking about legally. Um, the ICJ and the ICC are the two bodies that have jurisdiction in figuring out whether something is a genocide. The ICJ goes after states, well, goes after, but uh, declares whether or not a genocide has been happened, and the ICC goes after certain people who commit genocide. Um, and I I don't think the special intent has been showed, although certainly it's very obvious that certain acts that consist in genocide have been committed. We've all seen them. Simply looking at precedent from Rwanda, Serbia, the tribunal from the former Yugoslavia, it points to there not being enough evidence to demonstrate special intent. And I'm sure we're just going to argue about that for an hour.
I have a quick question for you.
Mhm.
Because you said there's no policy. Do you consider, and this isn't a current policy per se, but do you consider Plan Dalit to be a policy in which this sort of idea was implemented?
What does that mean?
Plan Dalit. It was a plan that they wrote up prior to the war in 1948.
I don't think we're talking about 1948. I think we're talking about Gaza now.
Or not, but when we're talking about policy, there's a long history of policy, and this is just one very obvious example. It's a very popular example, so I figured you would know. I'm just asking, do you think that that would be a policy that would prove that policy-wise intent? Okay.
All right. So the next question that I'm going to pose to everybody is whether or not it is a genocide. Do you feel like the actions that are being taken in Gaza at any point were justifiable? And then, if so, was there a point where it became unjustifiable? Same order, Casey, Gorp, Red Radius.
And okay, question.
Yes.
Are you gonna ask a bunch of questions and then have us just open debate, or are you gonna
Yeah. You can open debate it.
during the thing? Because I feel like if we're gonna do it during the thing, we gotta talk about Dolo Specialis and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask like 3 or 4 questions to lay out at least the basic understanding of what each person feels like, and then open it fully up to you. Just guys go, and then I'll just come in if it's getting too much, like one person's been talking for too long, or if it's getting too heated.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make it 3 questions. So this will be the second one, but again, the second question is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and well, I would I would ask Red if he cares about. I know I'm getting a little bit off here the question, but do you care about what the International Criminal Court, or how they fucking define the exact definition of genocide? Do you
Yeah,
look
I
at
care about
that
that.
when you consider like whether whether the Holocaust was a genocide? Do you feel like you need to go look at that definition to really figure? Do you need to make sure that it was clear, that it was a top down, or do if someone's presented you evidence that it wasn't like a top down order or something, or it sort of happened the willy, like it just sort of, they put them in camps and then they sort of sporadically started killing them when the camps filled up. But is there any sort of evidence or something that you would be like, oh, okay, well that makes it not the genocide then?
In the case of Nazi Germany,
Yes.
it is absolutely a genocide.
And you don't care about what the definition, right? Is that they at the ICC, right? We all know what genocide is, right?
No,
We don't know.
in the trials, they weren't charged with genocide because it wasn't a legal term yet. But you can superimpose a definition of genocide, and it fits the evidence in the crimes.
Yeah, I'm asking you if that definition by the ICC was any different. I think at this point that the term genocide is well understood what that is, and we know it when we see it. I think is a proper way to describe these genocides. Does it apply to
Thank you for the follow.
Bosnia or
Zionist.
I don't care about the whatever.
There were
special.
tribunals about Serbia.
Isn't it just a mass killing or possibly ethnically cleansing, but involving killing of a group of a race of people?
Just ethnic cleansing in itself with no killing was actually rejected as being part of genocide.
Right. We'll consider it a move or die scenario. You're gonna leave now. If you could stay, but you're gonna die if you stay. Type scenario to a group, a race of people, millions of people. That sort of declaration. But my real question is this type of question or whatever. We wouldn't normally go, let me go consult the ICC, or let me go, please.
The ICC and the ICJ are the highest courts that are involved with
What the fuck is Casey on right
figuring out
now?
whether something is genocide
What
or
the
not.
fuck?
I don't
Casey,
know, I don't know
Casey.
how else to get it to you.
But Casey, he's not saying that it's not fucking atrocities and shit. He's just saying that he would not go to the level of saying that it's genocide. I don't know what you're getting at here, Casey. You're my buddy, we're on team, but what the fuck are you getting at?
I'm saying that I don't give a fuck about the international. What I don't give a fuck about that definition because we all know what genocide is. I don't need a international body to tell me what there's a. Maybe if it was closed, I wasn't sure. I don't know. What is the ICC thing? Maybe that's a good. But they're considering they take years to fucking evaluate these things or whatever. If it was supposed to be an apparatus to stop a genocide or whatever, it's certainly a failed ordeal. In my opinion. I also
That is
think
also
that definition sort of my theory is that like we need a definition of genocide, but let's make sure that it doesn't dropping 2 atomic bombs on Japan. Let's make sure it doesn't consider that a genocide or so, like this like very extremely like legal specific definition or whatever.
Yeah, so we care about the definition because we have created 2 international bodies to deal with it. So I think
I will okay, I will say I think that there's one thing of talking about it in a sort of colloquial sense, like Casey's doing. I think that has its uses, but at the end of the day, the only thing that actually makes a genocide important to call out is the fact that you can stop it you can stop it after the fact internationally. So that is incredibly important, Casey. Like, that's why these definitions are important, is for actually punishing people who engaged in them.
Yeah, and the ICJ can release provisional measures that are technically binding, but it gets dicey because international shit.
All right, are civilians being murdered in Gaza?
Murder is very loaded.
Really? Did you watch the
Yes.
video on Discord?
Murder is very loaded.
Is that
because
not a murder? No, I linked you a fucking video of 2 people being murdered. That's why I'm using the term murder. It's not loaded. It's fucking specific.
It is loaded because murder is also a legal term. There has to be intent behind a murder. You can call it killing, that's fine. And
Yeah,
yes,
did you watch
civilians
the
are
video?
dying.
Did you watch the video in the Discord?
I think I saw the clip somewhere else.
Yeah. People waving their hands, getting the attention of the IDF. They have they're waving a white flag. They get shot in cold blood, and then a bulldozer comes over and buries the bodies, and runs it over.
So
In what fucking definition is that not fucking murder?
well, it could be, but we're also not debating murder. We're debating genocide.
No, yeah, but you could answer the question: is that murder? I mean,
Yeah.
it is murder. Okay,
Yeah.
so Gazans are being
Sure.
murdered in Gaza by the IDF, and we know if they are being murdered, and there's 30,000 of them dead, like doesn't it behooves
Casey
everyone
is
fucking involved, and
ruining
mostly fucking journalists
this point.
and pundits when they choose not to use the word genocide, they are not they are doing a disservice for describing what is happening in Gaza. If they were going if they wanted to properly, in my opinion, convey the what is happening in Gaza, and with half of Americans don't even fucking know who's died more, Israelis or fucking Palestinians in the quote unquote war. They keep calling it a war. They keep calling it a war. That's a fucking disservice for what is happening in Gaza, and not using the word genocide is also a disservice. and again and no, like, again, if the Holocaust was happening right the fuck now, no one would be, and the information was readily available about what was happening, no one would be like, oh, I don't know, let's debate the fucking ICC fucking definition. I don't know, is it special intent? I don't, we don't really know yet. In hindsight, we do know what was going on internally in the Third Reich. We don't know what the fuck's going on internally in the IDF. We shouldn't expect to. We just use words to describe things.
All right, Red Radius.
I don't know how to respond to that. Like, kind of doesn't really have anything to do with anything. If you want to just, soy out about people dying, that's fine. People dying is
Yeah,
sad.
I do
It
want to soy out
sucks.
about people dying. I often soy out about people dying. I
Mhm.
do.
Okay,
Like, it
well,
super triggers me.
yeah, well, I want to soy out about whether or not this is actually a genocide. So if we can get to that part, that'd be cool.
Go ahead. Tell me why it's not.
So do you know what constitutes a genocide? First off,
A genocide is the deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying the nation or group in whole or in part.
AC legal definitions.
That's what fucking genocide means.
No. Well, that's one example. That you don't need to kill anybody to do a genocide.
yeah, if you've sterilized an entire ethnic population of your country, that would be genocide. You didn't kill anyone.
Okay.
Anyways, so Radius, what's your argument that they're not? I assume that you're going to be on the destiny point here,
What is the destiny point?
the dolus specialis point.
Okay, then you would be right. I simply don't think that there is enough evidence to show the special intent to the point where it would be considered genocide by the ICJ.
What do you think would be needed?
Well, as of now, a plan or a pattern of actions and behaviors that could only be explained as a genocide.
That doesn't that by the way doesn't even include Nazi Germany. But I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't need to be policy. It's possible to deduce it from direct acts that are done in the context of whatever conflict it is. Direct acts done either by the perpetrator. This is ICC, so either done by the perpetrator or by the someone on the same side as the perpetrator. Direct acts, and a consistent direct act does not have to be law, does not have to be policy. Direct acts, in their totality, can allow you to deduce dolus specialis, the intent.
Which case are you taking this from?
Akiyasu.
Akiyasu, the ICTR.
It's the tribunal on Rwanda. It was the first trial in the Rwanda tribunal.
So I do have a note about that. It says the chamber considers that it's possible to deduce the genocidal intent inherent to a particular act charged from the general context of the perpetration of other culpable acts systemically directed at that same group. That part, right?
Yes. Quote goes on longer, but
Yeah, it goes on longer. Other factors such as scale as atrocities committed, their general nature in a region or country, or furthermore of deliberately and systematically targeting victims on account of their membership of a particular group, while excluding members of other groups, can enable the chamber to infer genocidal content. What was the verdict in that case?
That guy was found guilty.
Yeah.
And then he appealed it, and the appeal was shot down.
Why? Why was he found guilty?
Because they showed all the fucking things, bro.
What were the circumstances? What were the patterns of behaviors? What were the actions?
He had a bunch of things, including rape. Rape used as a weapon of war. He had genocide was one of his charges. And there's one other charge.
Yeah. So he also literally distributed kill lists to other people.
Yeah. So do you understand how legal
Yes.
judgments work?
Yes.
That it doesn't need to be the same situation. This is
No.
what
this
is described
this
as
is an
necessary.
analogous situation.
It is a genocide trial. This is describing what is necessary to prove the dole specialis.
Yeah.
It is not applicable to specifically to other people only who distributed kill lists. Like that's just not how this works.
But I'm saying overall, this is not applicable. You are talking about he was a mayor, right?
He was teacher, and then I think he was city council.
Yeah.
Might have been a mayor.
Yeah, something on that level. So with that, the level of scale that we're talking about, how much smaller the operations have to be, things like that. I don't know if you can automatically just extend it. Like we can go.
Okay, so I have a question. I have a question for you. I have a question for you. When there is a ruling on a law that describes what is necessary to prove that law, that you do recognize that applies to that law. Doesn't apply to that specific scenario. It applies to that law.
Yeah, it's precedent.
And it's the same law. That's the thing. It's the same law, so that definition is still applicable. You can say, it's a different scenario, and yes, you need to look at the fact patterns of this scenario, but
I am positing that these are different scenarios.
It's different scenarios, same crime. That's the thing. This is a criminal, or the definition of the aspect of the crime, not of the situation. This is not describing a single thing about the situation.
I mean, you're gonna have to show how this shows intent right now in Gaza.
Who would you like me to prove for? Because this is ICC, right? Who would you like me to prove for?
What do you mean?
Well, this is ICC. It's about specific people. Who would you like me to prove for?
Yeah, this standard, the standard I gave that was literally written out in Nolte's declaration. Anything.
Who would you like me to prove it for? These are individuals. This is trials on individuals. Who would you like me to prove it for?
Okay, so you're saying you can't lift this and move it onto Israel.
Well, I'm saying that I don't care. I don't really care about the ICJ. I care about the ICC. The ICJ won't ever do shit.
The ICJ has done shit though. The
ICJ won't ever do shit. What others followed? Was the report given to the ICJ after they demanded it? And what did it say?
On the 26th.
What did it say?
The report is not. It's not
the report that Israel was demanded. Do we have evidence that they even did that?
I would assume so, or they would have had a press release or something.
Maybe, but anyways, they aren't stopping anything that's happening. Nothing is actually changing. Their provisional things only do something when really America agrees with it.
Okay.
That's how this works. That's why I care about the ICC, not the ICJ. The ICJ is fun, good news, like something's happening, but it's not really gonna do anything.
Okay. I mean,
and we're both citing ICC decisions here, so.
Yeah, I'm just confused because the ICJ and the ICC, their precedents influence each other.
Their precedents influences each other. However, it is much different to prove a state versus a person. What we have described, both of us, is proving that a person did it.
Yeah.
A state does not act as a person, so you have much different standards here. And again, they don't do shit. As I talked about way earlier, I said the reason that we call things a genocide is so that people can be held accountable. So I care about the ICC. Who would you like me to prove it for?
Prove it for the ICC. Go.
Who? Bro. Yes.
Anyone. Anything.
Pick one.
I would like to interject here.
Netanyahu. Go.
Wait, what's your interjection? And okay, and then we'll go.
Is that we're focusing too much on the individual, while the accusations of genocide have been levied at the IDF as a military organization under Israel. Which, yeah, of course, as he said, not Netanyahu, of course, being the leader at the moment. But can we focus on, instead of individual cases, I would like to hear your case, Gorp, and then Red, on individual, what it takes for a country or military force to be convicted of genocide, not an individual, because I don't think that's what anybody's talking about.
I would say that you need a good number of people that have the ability to make decisions, that are saying fucked up shit and calling for fucked up shit or implementing policy on it. And you can show that that's just showing intent, but you can also show that this has bled into the military force itself, and that this isn't just somebody yapping, to help sort of prove that this wasn't just yapping. It was what they wanted to do and what they did.
And can you give examples in history of things outside of, obviously everybody knows the Holocaust? Any more recent modern examples outside of the Holocaust, or any details of which makes that a genocide that you can focus on, and then Red can reply to?
I mean, we could do like the Houthis and Tutsis, or that what they called? That what they're called? Where it was a very obvious calling for from the highest levels of the essentially extermination of the other. And that was then followed up and implemented by the lowest levels.
So you say the Houthis genocide is a modern example that you would
Houthis.
Like
The Houthis.
Houthis. Oh, okay, I thought you meant
Not the Houthis.
okay. That I was confused.
And I feel like that's like the most popular example. Probably what everybody here knows the most about.
Red Radius, do you know about this?
Only from what I've read. What did the ICJ say about it?
The ICJ, I don't even remember what the ICJ said. I focus on ICC all the time, so I can look it up real quick if you want, but
Okay.
All right, you look that up, and while you look that up, Gorp, Red, is there any modern cases of genocide that you know off the top of your head that you would be like, this is a clear example that we can work off of?
I don't know if it's a clear example, but I am inclined to believe that Russia is doing a genocide in Ukraine.
that's another example we could use.
Okay, so Ukraine, that's one. Is there any other, by any chance? Just to throw a few to look at.
I mean, there's also like Myanmar, and
Yeah.
Sudan.
Okay.
I will also just real quick. The ICJ found Rwanda guilty of genocide against more than 3,500,000 Congolese.
Mm-hmm.
Just you asked what they said, so I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And Casey, are any of the example or all the examples that have been given as a genocide something that you personally also believe would constitute good examples of modern day genocides?
Yes.
All right, so we're working on, so we have established some examples to work off of. I would like to hear the arguments from everybody here on how, if you believe that Gaza is a genocide, how using these examples, they are similar or comparison, or what details separate it from not being a genocide versus is a genocide. And for the people that obviously don't believe in here that it's a genocide, I want to hear about what is the differentiating factor from what happened that would be considered a genocide versus why Gaza currently has not crossed that threshold.
Yeah, I mean, we could start with Russia. The Russia one, the big allegation is the taking children of one group away from that group and placing them in the hands of another, which is exactly what they did in Donbass. Is that the name of that region? Donetsk? Yep. So they did that very obviously. They did that in lockstep with the highest levels of government and those who have the ability to make decisions on things like this, outwardly coming out and saying these people don't exist. Like basically that these Ukrainians don't exist. They're not Ukrainians. They are our people. These are our babies. And simultaneously while doing this, they did also kill a lot of the parents. But that's a complete separate story. They did this in lockstep from the very top to the lowest of low of the Russian military system, with the intent to eliminate the Ukrainians from that area, to eliminate any idea, in fact, as well, of Ukrainians in that area, as they just openly state.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I would also add in that the Russians do have policy. I forget what it's called, but they refer to it as adoption. The taking of those children. Yeah.
How many children have been adopted?
A lot.
I think it's in the thousands.
I think it's
I wanna
more
say
than
6,000.
thousands.
But that might be an old number. It's probably gone up since then.
Okay, let me edit my previous statements. I may or may not have been daydreaming. Nothing going on in Ukraine is a genocide.
Sorry, Wikipedia says 20,000.
Wait,
Okay,
it's 20?
I will not classify the adoption of children as genocide. That's ridiculous.
That's in the definition, Humdog.
Yeah,
That's
it
fucking
is.
ridiculous. The adoption of children is a genocide.
No, and
Yes,
it's the
yes.
stop. It is the forcible transferring of children of the group to another group with the intent to destroy and hold it apart.
Yeah, it
Oh,
is.
yeah.
It is
Well,
that is genocide.
And
enumerated
part of that.
of
How-
Article 2.
How is adopting children hundreds of, not thousands,
20,000.
how is it evident of them trying to wipe out Ukrainians or whatever?
Trying to wipe out Ukrainians from the eastern regions of Ukraine, because they have also
Yes.
espoused that they want to do this.
Yeah, that would be the.
That Ukrainians don't exist here, and then they're taking action to make that true.
Oh, and also it's important to remember that there is no other reason for the.
We're talking
transfer of
about
children.
Or
Oh, there could be plenty of other reasons.
We're not
But at the end of the day,
splitting
they
children
split
up
this
from
with this
their,
intent.
from their
In,
parents,
like,
right?
Like reasonable explanations.
No, there's plenty of reasonable explanations.
We're talking about the orphan
There's
children.
always is.
Children separated from their families, right? That's what we're talking about.
No. We're talking about kids that are taken away from their families
They're taken
to be put
away.
into Russian homes.
Uh-huh.
There's a whole case in the ICJ about this, just so you know, if you
ICJ.
want to look into it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now, you can go look into it if you'd like.
Yeah, it's grim.
Okay, so Casey, let's hone in on this. While Gorp and Red here have said that they believe that what's going on between Russia and Ukraine would be considered a genocide or a modern day example of a genocide, but you do not. But on the flip side, Red doesn't believe that we can classify Israel and what's going on there as a genocide, but you do. So for you starting, Casey, why do you think there is a difference between what's going on in Russia and Ukraine versus what's going on with Palestine and Israel? And then I'll flip the same question to you, Red.
Okay.
Look, genocide is, as we know the word to mean, the absolute worst act that one group of a people can commit, as far as humanitarian violations of human rights. There is nothing graver. There is no word the worse to describe a thing. So we yes, for political. Let's be real that a lot of the ICC, ICJ, these are somewhat politicized to some degree. I don't think they're totally it's not the kangaroo court, but I mean they do exist in an apparatus of American hegemony and are often when used to promote the American ideas. And yes, promoting the idea that the Russia's doing a genocide or something. Was it 2.5 years and 10,000 civilians, which is an awful number. I believe that's the number. And then there's a couple acts, so that's a war crime. But especially on early on, I can go through them, but there's that's a fucking war crime. But I mean, we're 2.5 years in, and And I really feel like all of the fucking the lefty shit, like, oh, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist. They're like, oh, like they're just throwing around these words or whatever. I do not throw around such words loosely. Certainly not the word genocide. I wouldn't describe fucking the adoption of children. I don't, and again, I don't give a fuck about the fucking definitions as far as the ICC is concerned. These are words that we all fucking know. We know what a fucking genocide is. We don't, whether or not Russia or Israel is guilty as far as the specific laws about genocide in these international courts are concerned. That's for fucking legal scholars and yes, but somewhat not somewhat biased jurors to decide. I am not these things. Um, I'm just a bro who knows what the fucking word genocide means, and it's not adopting children.
Okay, something very interesting about that. Russia actually submitted a.
This is why I don't like Casey, guys.
They submitted
He's so
a case
dumb.
to the International Court of Justice, claiming that Ukraine is doing genocide in the Donbass, and a lot of their rhetoric was around denazification. And what the ICJ did was threw out the case because they didn't even think it was plausible that a genocide was going on in Ukraine. And it's very funny because in the Ukraine versus Russia ICJ case, they cited this decision. They're like, yeah, this is one of the things that Russia has done to encourage genocide against the Ukrainians. And in that case, they found it plausible. So I actually think, ironically enough, that's a really good reason to say that it's important to properly use the word genocide.
Right. And we start calling adopting children genocide.
It's not adopting children. They are literally being forcefully taken to Russia.
Yeah, it's the program is called adopt. Wait, it's not Casey. Casey, you are the exact reason that the program calls it adoption, is because that doesn't sound so bad to you in fucking Washington. It's not actual adoption. It's fucking stealing kids. It is abduction and kidnapping on mass scale of 20,000 kids.
Again, I'm not well versed on the issue, certainly. And I wouldn't want to say something to infer that it wasn't there or try to the downplay it as I'm not well versed on it, certainly. But without reading more, I would say that I'm a little bit skeptical.
Okay, you just don't know about it anyways. So I think that we can move on from that.
Yeah, I said I didn't.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, I have a question. I have just a quick question, Radius.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's plausible Israel's committing genocide? Do you agree with that ruling?
So, in regards to the ruling, I think that the ICJ should have taken the case. The Convention on Genocide doesn't just cover genocide; it covers what conspiracy, incitement, failure to commit or failure to stop, and something else. And I think 107 demonstrates to me, anyways, that incitement is very plausible. It's just on the actual genocide part. That's where I have a disagreement with.
What part of it? What do you consider the incitement?
So there, well, it would be one. Some of what the higher up people, I think, maybe can be construed as incitement, but I think there's a lot coming from like the lower levels. So let me pull up my thing. like there's a lot of soldiers that should probably be told stop doing incitement shit. I think there was a major general who has a big section, like paragraphs, in the application from South Africa. So I would say stuff like that, and also Israel under the convention does have an obligation to stop that.
Okay, so what are the lower level people saying that the higher level people are not?
Ooh. So I actually don't have notes on that, and the reason is specifically for genocide. The lower levels don't really matter. Like Mladic was I forget his position, but he was pretty high.
Can I explain why I'm saying this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you're admitting that like some of that very well could be incitement to genocide.
Yeah.
From everything that I have seen, they all basically say the same shit. Like obviously there's certain people that are extra crazy. I'm not denying that by any means, but a lot of them say a lot of the same shit. So I'm trying to parse out what is the difference here that is incitement at the lower levels but not at the higher levels.
I don't think that the message, the frustrations that it shows from the lower levels necessarily needs to be derived from the higher positions.
Well, no, I'm just talking about like what is being said, right? Because you're saying that what is being said at the lower levels is conspiracy or is incitement.
Yeah.
What is being said down there that's not being said at the top? Because what I'm saying is that they're all saying the same shit, so it just seems weird that you're distinguishing this.
I would have to go through this stuff, but because I wasn't prepared for this part.
All right, so while you're looking that up, I have it so people can highlight questions, and I will read off the questions that they have for the panelists. This one is in reference to the Ukraine statements. Alesto TV states, so wait, on the definition of genocide, what America is doing to Mexico is considered genocide? What does the panel think? I mean, they're adopting children. If adopting children is genocide, well, I guess America is genociding Mexico.
So it's not just adopting children. It's adopting children while trying to destroy a part of a racial or ethnic group, which is on its face absurd.
But even if it just was, we're also not like barging into Mexico and stealing kids. They're coming over here with their parents and we're separating. So
yeah, so
it's very different.
Adoption. A good comparison would be like I don't know. A lot of people have seen Avatar. In Avatar, the Fire Nation takes a lot of the children from different villages, if not slaughtering them. That's adopting them, but they're also killing the adults and also teaching them to not be part of that culture anymore. So that would be like what you're talking about, correct?
Potentially, if they are doing it to replace that, like those people with their own racial group, then yeah.
Another good example would be like raiders from throughout history. When one village or tribe would wipe out another village or tribe, sometimes they would take the children as well. I mean, taking them in, whether they would become slaves or part of the family or whatever, they would still be taking the children while wiping out the other tribe.
Oh, hold on. I was fucking lied to you fuckers. That their children are dead. These are children in these orphanages or found in the war-torn areas. The issue being raised, even though I'm reading a U.S. quote, is that they need to be adopted in Ukraine and not Russia. But this is what's going on. They're not fucking tearing children away from their fucking parents.
That's not all 20,000 of them.
Fuckers lied to me.
That's not all 20,000 of them. And why do you think some of them are in orphanages?
Because of the fucking war. Russia killed their parents. What?
Russia killed their parents, then took them to Russia.
Right. So a war in Ukraine, people are dying again at a much lesser degree as civilians obviously than Israel. By the way, but I think that most of the war is actually just like most of the war, like 95% of it is actually like both sides are like doing the human rights thing, like and then not doing war crimes. Although again, I could go through a couple instances where Russia really did. There was a few bad things, but anyway, so there are children in the war that are orphaned because again, it's been an all-out war for like 2 years now or whatever. Yeah, you're inferring that Russia also just like murdered their parents and then shipped their kids to Russia.
Casey, have you ever heard of the term totality of the circumstances?
Literally that, yeah.
Like Casey, I respect your opinion. I do. You are Googling this as we speak.
Correct.
To try to talk about something that has been heavily talked about and heavily researched and reported on, like and just like as whole last fucking 50-page articles and shit.
Yeah,
all due respect, I feel like we shouldn't stick on that because I don't think that you are going to learn as much as you need to.
Like,
that's fine.
The ICC literally has an arrest warrant for Putin, and having an arrest warrant for a leader of a secretary council head it's never happened. Okay.
I do want to throw out a few things, and then we can move on from the Ukraine and stuff and go back to Gaza since that was where we started. So, so a few comments that were highlighted is Stack Ollie says it's not genocide, it's mass kidnapping at most. But a question that somebody brought up again, Alesta TV says America did what they are saying. America did this in Iraq and Afghanistan. Would that be classified as genocide? Just yes or no to the people who believe. So that would be for you, Red and Gorp.
If they did what in Afghanistan?
Oh, everything that you said. This chatter claims that everything that you said that Russia was doing with the killings and then taking the children is things that America did in Iraq and Afghanistan, and wonders if you would classify that as a genocide.
Did America take the kids to America?
Yeah, where did they take them? And were they also like importing people to Americanize the area for territorial expansion?
So another person says that the definition is bullshit. So could we actually just reiterate for chatters that have joined in and weren't originally here for the definition of what we're using as the basis for a genocide here?
Like from the convention?
I just read it out real quick.
What you're building? Okay, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Genocide is the following acts committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. 1. Killing members of the group. 2. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. 3. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. 4. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. And 5. Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Any one of these actions is considered.
The intent,
yeah, with the intent.
Okay, and then I have a personal question myself, and this is what is preferable situation for, let's just say, any conflict. This could apply for both Ukraine and Russia, and for Palestine and Israel. For the children that are being orphaned to be left orphaned in that country and that has been left in ruin, or to be adopted by whatever side is winning and has more stability to grow up and have a little bit more resources. Because one case you can argue that, well, they're with their culture, their family, or whatever is left, but you could say they have a bad start. And the other, they're being taken out of that culture and family, but you can say they have a good start. So for everybody in the panel, what is your opinion? What is a more preferable situation? Leave the orphaned kids or take the orphaned kids?
I would say leave, but also I think that depending on this is very conflict dependent, but like these are kids, keep them in their fucking culture. But I would also say that, like, I don't know, an option to go, for example, let's say Ukraine, Russia, an option when they turn 18, if they choose to want to go over there completely of their own volition, I think that would be a fine option. But like at the end of the day, keep them with their fucking culture and their peoples.
Okay, and all right. So with that, we're going to be concluding the Ukraine and Russia. Let's not touch on that anymore. But going forward, I do want to start with a chatter's question. This is for Red Radius in particularly. If the threshold for genocide was, let's say, 10,000 people and someone unalived 9,999 people, would you then say that is not genocide? Where would you personally draw the line between common sense and legalism?
I would say that genocide has almost nothing to do with death count.
Okay, well, let's
What?
take out the death count point real quick and answer that last point at least. Where would you draw the line between common sense and legalism? Then we can circle back to the death count, so it seems Casey has something to say about that.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things to be said about it. Um when we're talking about it in this context where we have like the court proceedings, everything, I think it is just proper to use legal precedents. If you have a I don't know, really good reason that you disagree with the precedence of the threshold of proving special intent, go for it. I just don't really see one.
I mean, there is a lot of just like legal scholar discussion on that, but I
Yeah,
don't think that's worth our time right now.
dude, trust me, I read a little bit of it on Tuesday, and it's a rabbit hole that I never want to go down.
I've been reading it for
It's a
3 years.
fucking nightmare, dude.
I wrote fucking 30 pages or some shit on Myanmar, and I did my rabbit hole back then a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? I'm not fucking doing this. The court is the court. They're right. We can just stick with them.
I
I do
think
have a question. Oh,
at the
sorry,
heart
go
of the
ahead.
question was, would some little technicality in this law or whatever, and this law, and by the way, this definition is a legal definition. Yeah, would some little legal, some like little point about that definition like almost like it doesn't matter, but for whatever reason it wasn't considered genocide in the court. Would that would stop you from like using the word, and
Yes.
that would you just wouldn't use.
Yes.
So I have the
I
ICJ decided that retroactively to amend the definition, then that the Holocaust was no longer applied. You'd be like, all right, it's not the genocide anymore.
Wait, I have a quick question for both of you. Just quick yes or no. Is Derek Chauvin a murderer?
oh shit, he got acquitted, didn't he? Is this what you're trying to pull?
Yeah.
O.J. Simpson too.
I'm just looking for consistency.
Is he a murderer? No. Is he a killer?
Is O.J. Simpson a murderer?
Same answer, although
OJ,
I really think he did it.
OJ, of course, everyone knows he did it.
So the law can be wrong, and you can believe that something could have been improperly judged, right, Red?
Yes.
All right. So there was a comment that I skipped over earlier, just because I didn't know how much I was going to be the voice of chat. But somebody asked earlier. It was from Stack Ali. Asked whether or not, and I think it's relevant now. You would accept the possibility that the ICJ and or other powerful interests would be less likely to rule what's happening in Gaza on Israel's side as a genocide because of Israel's connections and power on the world stage.
Another good question.
So I think you'd have to demonstrate that. I think the only judge was or the only judge that has voted no on pretty much everything. I'm pretty sure he's Israeli.
No, he's
Wait, he's
African.
not? He's African.
African. The Israeli judge also has voted no on some things, but he's voted yes on some of the things as well.
Okay. But
He's split. The hardline no is I forget which country. It's Northern Africa.
Iraq? I thought
No, it's
I
it's
think it was
Africa.
around, yeah,
It's some lady from Africa.
That definitely was paid money.
Oh,
But-
okay. That's a very serious allegation, and I bet you have zero proof behind it. Yeah, I mean the
Uganda. My chat's saying Uganda. Sorry.
the American judge has voted yes on everything, even though America has an interest. I mean you'd have to show a line. All the judges on the ICJ are supposed to be unbiased, all that stuff. They're not allowed to engage in a lot of governmental things in their home country, if I'm not mistaken. There's regulations around it.
So
They have a big ass code of ethics.
Do I believe they're unbiased?
or at least close enough.
Yeah, I think so.
All
So
right, what about you, Gorp and Casey? I'm interested in that as well.
I think that they are very close to unbiased, yes. I think that the only place you see bias, and we've kind of seen this consistently from both the ICJ and the ICC, is in terms of the actual punishment or the fucking memorandums they put out saying, hey, you should stop. Like, that's where you see a little bit of bias, still not a ton, but a little bit there. Not in terms of the actual decisions, though.
They're absolutely biased. I mean, it reminded me of that they have a ruling of the Yemen. Look, if the were they even asked to make a ruling? We're talking about over like 4 years, hundreds of thousands starving to death because it's somewhat flash into Israel's blockade of food and humanitarian aid or whatever. But they're
The
definitely,
ICJ urged the UN to hold them accountable, basically, but I don't think the ICJ has ever been asked to rule on that.
I wouldn't say like they're not like an arm of the U.S. exactly, but they definitely have and by the way, everything is always some bias and stuff like that. So it's just like to what degree, and they're not like as bad as they're not actually like they're not actually controlled by the U.S. but they certainly have a bias leaning toward the U.S. and its interest
what
and
makes you think
sort
that?
of what makes me think that? Because America is the hegemonic superpower that is that the U.S. and its friends created the UN and all of these international bodies like
I mean, take like the Genocide Convention. There's 150, 170 something countries signed on to that. It's not just the West. It's held in fucking Europe, yes, but it's not just the West.
Yeah. Also, if I'm not if I'm not forgetting, there's like a huge block of countries that came in like what, the 60s or the 70s, and it really shifted the like national composition of the UN. Like, yeah, US has a Security Council spot, which is very powerful.
So do Russia and China.
Yeah, so do Russia and China.
one of you said there was an arrest warrant for Putin.
Yes.
But what about for old George W? What about lying to the UN to invade a country and there ends up being over 500,000 civilians killed? Like, is this not
do
a
you
fucking
know
crime?
why I think that a US president will never get a warrant from the ICC?
Good.
No. Do you know why I think that?
I don't know why you think that.
We have something called the Hague Act.
Yes.
Basically, if an American is being tried in the Hague, guess what's gonna happen?
Yeah, we say that we're going to invade the Hague.
Yeah.
What a ridiculous, by the way, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know. One position that I have kind of adopted from doing all this legal stuff is I think international law is really good. I don't think it's okay for states like Russia and Israel and the United States to not be signatories to the ICC. I think that's bad.
Is I will also say that and this is where I think Casey kind of misconstrues bias onto the courts. The bias is in the implementation because you can, but it's hard to actually implement these things, like the rulings and the supposed punishments, without the U.S. support. It's possible, yes, if you get lucky,
Yeah.
but without U.S. support for it, you're not.
Very right, but also I would also
because a lot of shit goes through the Security Council, and if you don't have U.S., China, and Russia backing, like you're fucked. Nothing's gonna happen.
I would also append to that, however, though, yeah, and definitely like the main mechanism, excuse you, is like through the U.S. and its friends or whatever, like, yeah. But I'd also say that the more rulings that they make that are simply not even able to be followed through or just totally ignored or whatever, it sort of undermines the entire institution, such as rulings against the U.S. that everyone knows that are
English in chat, no squiggly line language.
so I think that at the very least they would be not so willing to like undermine their own institution by making declarations against the U.S., which is probably why Cheney, Rumsfeld, and all of those war criminals, that's why there's not an outstanding warrant or whatever. It's not just that they're not going after them. It's as far as the follow through, it's just that they never did it. They never did the thing that they're so apt and willing to do against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. There's obviously a bias.
So Stack Ollie says, "Oh, so there is a bias in these systems." Well, look at that.
Wait, I will also say, has the U.S. ever had something actually brought against it in the court? I don't know if they have.
I
At least in modern history.
The ICC had. I don't know if they went to the warrant stage. They might have, but I think some like military officials, or not officials, but officers, were charged in either Iraq or Afghanistan.
Okay. All right, and it can go.
Yeah, and then we actually prosecuted them.
Yeah, we prosecute them domestically.
Yeah,
we consistently do that. Yeah.
Oh, the prison Abu Ghraib, is that what we're talking about? Probably.
There are Abu Ghraib bitches in U.S. military prisons right now. So.
Somebody in my chat says cluster munitions was the closest you could get America being charged with war crimes.
Wow.
I'm actually not like familiar with this what they're referring to. If there is a specific case, or they just mean the.
I mean, a lot of people just call the usage of cluster munitions to be because they pose too much of a risk to civilians. That's the reasoning.
We break our own laws. When we've sent these cluster munitions to Ukraine, we have a law. We break our own laws when we do it. We're not supposed to like support any military that uses these types of munitions, and we're literally shipping them to Ukraine. Like,
well, yeah,
I'm pretty sure there's international law as well, but I know that we're breaking our own laws by doing it.
But American based, so it can't be wrong.
Agrees that there is some level of bias. Then it sounded like at first we didn't agree, but Red, are we now kind of going back and saying that there is bias in the system, but the bias just isn't present when dealing with this Israel case, or are you still holding that there isn't bias in the courts?
So in the court system, I would say there's as little bias as you can get. If we're talking about implementation, then the stuff that is like the things that are delegated to Security Council, like that's obviously biased. You have a small set of countries that need unanimous rulings for shit. Yeah,
Court's not biased, implementation is. I think that's pretty fair.
Okay. All right. Now, bringing this all back, going a few steps back, we went into the courts, what are the courts' rulings and all of this, but we still haven't really hammered down what is the difference between the Rwanda genocide and the Gaza conflict, the possible if you believe in the Myanmar, if you believe Myanmar is a genocide, in that with the Gaza conflict, or if you believe the Uyghur genocide, that we've established that there is at least other genocides that we can point to and be like, that is something I would be comfortable calling a genocide, but we haven't differentiated, well, what is it that separates Gaza from this? Is it intent or is it something else? Red, please take the floor and state your case of what you think is the major differential factor from what you would classify a genocide with examples, and then why, with examples, Gaza does not fall under that.
Yeah, so I would point to Nolte's declaration, in which in it he says, let me pull it up. The court has established a high threshold for the definite determination of genocidal intent, and at the stage of the merits. In the absence of a general plan to this effect, the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a protected group can only be inferred from a pattern of conduct if this is the only reasonable inference that can be drawn therefrom. And he's citing the Croatia and Serbia ICJ case. Judge Bandari, who also agreed with the case reaching the threshold of plausibility, cites it as well. Ultimately, I just don't see a general plan, and B, I don't see a pattern of action that makes it evident that genocide is the only reason that it can be carried out.
I have a quick question for you. Do you think that the Uyghur situation is a genocide?
Ooh.
no.
I just want to know so I can know if I'm going to cite that for you or not.
It's hard to say. I've heard a lot of the use of the word cultural genocide being thrown around. So like with the re-education stuff, there may be something with the sterilizations, but otherwise, I wouldn't make a particularly strong statement either way.
Okay, wait, 2 seconds. Rezi, thank you for the raid. I appreciate you. I'm doing a debate though, so I'm not gonna sit and
Hi, Rezi.
do that. But refresh your screen, writers. Love you guys. You guys effectively spammed my chat. Thank you.
Hi, Red.
Sorry. So you said that you wouldn't necessarily call it one. So you said at the end there. I had my raid music playing.
Yeah, I have I don't know if I'd call it like a genocide.
Also, another quick question: is there anything that has not been ruled a genocide that you would call a genocide that's happening
By the ICJ?
Yeah, or in criminal court,
Or in what?
or in ICC? Just like anything that hasn't been ruled as, you know.
I don't. So I haven't gone through every case, and obviously they're still adjudicating some things, but not off the top of my head.
Has Sudan been considered a genocide by the ICC, ICJ? You know, I don't think it has.
I
think they put out the UN's put out warnings, but
yeah,
would you consider that to be genocide though?
I don't know enough about it.
Okay. What was this whole thing about? Jesus Christ, I had an important note there. You were saying your statement beforehand.
Yeah. Talking about intent or
Oh yeah, talking about intent. So like there's a bunch of modern examples where, and these are specifically a lot of cases that have not been ruled on, which I think are probably the best examples, because you see all of these similarities, and you see all of these being, you know, by independent investigators, UN investigators, countries themselves considering these things to be genocides, and also upholding and talking about the standard of the ICC and ICJ standard to prove that. And they have consistently shown that almost never in modern times, since we have started punishing genocide, do people outright say, I want to do genocide anymore. They don't do that. Obviously, like, you know this.
obviously.
Yeah. So what you have to do is look at the pattern. In also almost every case, there is another plausible reason.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you can't accept that other plausible reason because what they're actually trying to do is very obvious.
Mhm.
Do you accept that? Like that's what I was going to cite the Uyghurs for, because they cite counterterrorism as their entire reason for doing everything. So we can understand that there can be another reason, but at a certain point that doesn't fucking matter anymore, and you're doing the genocide. Would you accept that? The Nazis had this too, by the way. So
The thing about the Nazis is they literally built camps that were not even for work. They were only.
yeah, no. I'm not saying that's the exact same thing. I'm just like saying as an example, like they had other reasons too, for what they did. So when I'm talking about an era where you don't just outright say you're gonna do a genocide,
Mhm.
everybody also has other reasons. Do you accept that even if they have other reasons, it can still be a genocide?
Possibly, it would depend.
Well, for example, if you're citing counterterrorism for everything happening, I know you just play with it because I think it's a good example. If you're citing counterterrorism for doing an entire sterilization and forced re-education with you being shot if you leave the camps and all of that, like, do you think that it's okay to say, okay, I don't buy the counterterrorism point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think for that example, yeah.
why do you find Gaza different?
I find Gaza different because the military operations are pretty obviously a direct response to the October 7th attack.
Well, they're a response to it, but is that really what they're trying to do? That's the whole thing here. Where at what point is what they're doing no longer just a response?
I don't know. I think so. As of now, I don't. I think I would literally have to see an evidence of a plan to consider this.
That's not even what the court says.
No. I'm getting to it. But going forward, let's say they invade Rafah on Monday, and let's say that it is that they don't do anything to warn the civilians or things like that, and they end up killing like tons of people that way. That would bias my opinion.
They already did that though. They already did that in the north.
When the
Israeli like
So there's a difference. One, they did take civilian precautions in the north.
The Israeli officials said that they stopped knock bombs. That was stated on October 9th. They stopped the knock bombs. They told people in the leaflets to go places, and then they bombed the places that they told them to go.
Indiscriminately bombing everyone that goes into the area, or
they bombed those areas. They said, you will be safe here, we will not bomb here, and so people went there and they got bombed.
Yeah. Sometimes you need to do strikes against military targets.
Do you believe Israel when they say Hamas is in tunnels?
Sometimes, yeah. Why
Okay,
not?
well, Israel's bombs don't hit the tunnels. This is like actually well-known knowledge that Israel's bombs don't touch the tunnels. They are not strong enough to touch any of the tunnels that have been made in the last 15 years.
Okay.
So they're not targeting tunnels. They're hitting hospitals and shit.
Mm-hmm.
They are hitting schools where people were told that they are allowed to go seek refuge.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not dropping knock bombs, and they are also just mass scale bombing the entire rest of the city. Like, at what point, where are they warning civilians here?
Okay. So I think fundamentally, we are wrapping up. There are two obligations that are IHL when it comes to civilians. One is precautions, and the other one is proportionality. So it's not international law saying no civilian casualties are ever acceptable, right?
Yeah.
It's saying that there are, like, the person doing the strike has to weigh the military benefits along with the civilian casualties, and that is how a proper decision is come up with,
Oh, that
whether or not it's okay to carry out a like a bombing, or you know just insert military operation, right?
on that issue, basically Israel, like some good for the Democrats that made Israel sign this thing that said that yeah, we'll give us weapons and we'll not be doing war crimes or whatever. And then they had to do this report and send it to us. That's like, here's why we're not doing war crimes. And under the thing about like proportionality, their case was explicitly that that if you look at it as if you look at it on the if you zoom out enough and you're looking at the whole mission, and the mission is to save the millions in Israel. Therefore, yeah, the proportionality should be taken with that in mind. The whole thing was basically saying, even if we kill 100,000 civilians, well, it's to save the millions in Israel. That was the actual fucking the case that they made, and that's the only thing they can make. They've admitted to dropping what is like 2,000-pound bomb on a densely populated a refugee
Anjabali, yeah.
to get one guy they they're so explicit. There's so much evidence of them not doing these things, or of them doing these things like that it's basically impossible to even to deny that they're considering proportionality. But more to the question, I wanted to ask about, do you know of the flower massacre?
Yeah, I do know of it.
Do you think that Israel fired on that group of people that were getting starving, getting aid?
So I don't know all the details, but from what I understand, yeah, it seems kind of fucked up.
So you agree that
Um,
they definitely probably fired on those people getting aid?
well, no, I think they definitely did fire on those people. I think like, didn't Israel's own report say, "Oh, we only shot and killed 10 people" or something? Am I misremembering that?
No, that's what Israel says, and I think we're inching towards an issue of you believing Israel. So, but yeah, no, that's
Well,
what Israel said.
well,
Oh,
no,
and then
that
later they changed their mind and said that yeah, they shoot a couple people, but that was an entirely different incident. They changed the story about 5 times, but people there said that they got shot by ADF. The hospitals were filled with people with bullet wounds, and more to the point, the IDF they released the footage of the drone camera right up to the point where people were going to die, and then it cuts, and then they have some at the end where it shows the bodies. They chose not to release the whole video. And if
Mhm.
everyone is saying that the IDF fucking opened fire on these people that were trying to get AIDS from them, if that's what the people are saying, that's what the doctors are saying, that's what the UN monitors that were at the hospital are saying, that's what the wounds were that were coming in. If everyone is saying that these people have been shot, all the IDF needs to do is to just release the drone footage, but they don't, right? That they go with their ridiculous storylines, and they end up saying something like, we did shoot some people, but that was that was a sort of a nearby, but it was somewhere else or something. That was, I think, is the answer that they landed on,
Mhm.
though. At one point, a funny tweet that said that yeah, our tanks fired a warning shot. I didn't know that tanks fired warning shots. That was funny. I think they
Yeah.
might have deleted that.
Um. So I understand that that drivers are um not party to the conflict, right?
And most aid workers aren't.
Yeah. Do we have any statement from the drivers?
We have statements. We have like this person said to me,
Oh.
and then that second person said to a broader audience.
Okay. Yeah. So personally, I'm not gonna make you know very
But wait, I will also say civilians are not party to the conflict, bro.
yeah. I am not gonna make I do not have a strong stance that Israel has done nothing wrong. It seems quite possible maybe even probable that war crimes have been committed. I'm not entirely sure what that has to do, though.
Well,
He's the one.
yeah, so I asked a question to a Legate streamer
Mhm.
I think it was yesterday. It's sort of a thought experiment that if one human turned into a chicken every hour, throughout the whole world, there's one person that turned into a chicken every hour. How much time would have to go by before people believed that this was happening? You can answer that if you want. It's a ridiculous question.
Wait,
but-
wait, yeah. I feel like I missed something. Can you say it again?
Yeah, so people are turning into chickens.
Mhm.
One person every hour turns into a chicken, but the world over. So 24 people a day in the whole world. Just boop, you turn into a chicken. Just like something unbelievable, something that people they're not likely to believe such a thing or something like no, that can't be right or whatever.
Mhm.
But how much time you think would have to go on before it was sort of widely accepted and what would be the evidence of that?
I mean,
It would probably be like caught on video or something like what,
yeah,
and not just
yeah,
one video. It would be
video.
probably like be a couple videos. So the first video would be like, oh, well, that's blah blah blah. CGI, AI. It might be like 3 or 4 videos. Like, might probably be like I don't know, a couple months before, or if not yeah, maybe 3 or 4 months before people actually started believing this thing was happening, or they wouldn't believe to that's we sort of give Israel this oh, that's our friendly democracy, in the Middle East, but they're they've we do a lot of covering for them and for a country that holds millions of people as within their borders as non-citizens.
Mhm.
They patrol them with with their military. They occupy them with the military. When they arrest them, there is no need for trial or judges, and there is
I
no
love Casey,
length
but
of
he's so
time
fucking
for which
long-winded. Jesus
they
Christ.
cannot they could hold them for infinite amount of time. This is the military rule in the West Bank, and it's a little bit different in Gaza, whether it's basically a siege in Gaza, but like this is the like these are the people that we're talking about. It's they have there's a lot of like hate and racism inside Israel towards like these people or whatever. Like like context is everything. Like if this was like I feel like sometimes and I heard you the other day, like yeah, you're citing the IDF. Like if this was I would be like 10 times more likely to actually like believe if it was like the American military or the American, like these people, the IDF is so far away from even the American military, which I don't find particularly moral themselves, but the number of atrocities for which the IDF has lied about and covered for is many, and we can go through them. I could list some if you need, but so when so this occupation force or whatever, the IDF, this when they say something like there's a tunnel under a hospital or something, like all the hospitals apparently
Mhm.
at this point, like and then they show no evidence, or they try to show evidence, but it's debunked easily. Did you cover the did you were you on top of that where like they showed the calendar and it was in Arabic, and they said that these look at the names of the terrorists are on the calendar, and this is the IDF.
Casey,
Yeah.
can you clarify
I
your statement on
yeah.
real quick?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I feel like you're rambling. What is
I
the
am I
point you're
am
trying to get at?
Well, let me ask this question because this comes from one of your chatters. They said that Casey brought up a statement about it being obvious that Israel is doing a genocide because of their they drop large bombs. Israel has dropped over 30,000 bombs. So a bomb kills about one person on average. That seems counter the size concern. Could you kind of elaborate on that point real quick, since it seems we have a little confusion there too?
I'm not sure about the bomb drop rate.
Could you
Like
reiterate
That's pretty accurate for the bomb drops, by the way.
my point of what?
about the bomb drops? Because you were the one that mentioned it first.
I cited a specific bomb drop, a 2,000-pound bomb that
Oh,
killed
okay.
80. Well, that killed 80 people. I did mention that bomb. I forget the name of the refugee camp, but it was a CNN interview. There was
It was
yeah,
Jabalia.
oh, is it? We thought that we're pretty sure a Hamas guy was there. Did you get him? And he was like, "Well, I'll have to
Okay.
get back to you on that." Then he changes his opinion. He's like, "No, actually, we got him." Whatever. Anyway, the whole point was sort of like that the context is everything when because you just said a moment ago there's the idea of inferring that you're going to believe the IDF or whatever. This is an institution that has consistently covered for the murder of Palestinians over the last 50 years. Just consistently. It, yeah, to take their word for something is ridiculous. And if they're going to do something, if they're doing something like raiding hospitals, bombing hospitals, like it,
Do you mind
shouldn't
if I
there
turn
be
this into
some?
a
Okay,
question?
let me question. I'll ask.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you expect some degree of proof being shown for such a just a horrible just horrible things like bombing hospitals or raiding hospitals, sieging hospitals, like when this group of people say something that this is why we need to do this or something, is it important that they show some proof or whatever, and like at what point do you say, well maybe there's something else going on, maybe what they say they're doing isn't the reasons why they're actually doing it, like is it have you seen proof of these such claims, and is it important for them to show it when they're bombing hospitals?
Well, so I think what was it? I want to say the 18th.
All of that just to get to this point. Jesus
I don't,
Christ.
I don't know if it was referencing what happened that day or the events of that day. I think the ID or Israel claims that they got like some commander or something in an Al Shifa raid, along with detaining a lot of other people. It seems that they only announce things when they're like really big. So high up commanders in like the military wing, stuff like that. Uh, I would like to know how they do their calculations on what targets they're picking, how many civilians I think they're you know allowing. It sounds really bad to put it that way, but unfortunately, that's just part of doing urban warfare. I would like to know these factors that go into it, but we don't have knowledge of it. The ICJ might have some. Uh, those things might be in the report that was ordered and was delivered on February 26th. So there's going to be potentially a lot of data about strikes. Um, yeah, it's really hard to say definitively.
So I think sorry, I also want to tie this back to what Casey's beginning of his rambles was. Which is well, no, after chickens. Jesus Christ. Maybe before chickens. I don't know, you talk too long.
Agreed.
I think that what he's trying to point out, and what I would also like to point out, is that there is this government, or more specifically, a lot of times it's the IDF, that will consistently change their story in a way that is counter any evidence. Like they will say something, and then they'll change it 5 times, not provide evidence for any of them, and the evidence on the ground is completely opposed to this. I think we're kind of drawing an issue with the seemingly a little bit blind belief of what they say.
Okay. I am not quite sure why the belief was even brought up. It's not
In regards to the flower massacre.
Yeah.
No, because you said Israel said.
No, yeah, because I was responding to like the claims of opening up fire, and my point with citing the IDF is even by their own stories, they were shooting people. I don't think this is in contention.
Well, I think the real question here is, let me try to pin this down to a question. How trustworthy, Red, do you find the information that Israel puts out on the whole Gaza? And on top of that, do you consider that a biased source that needs to be questioned?
Yeah, I think I do think they're a biased source. I do think they should be questioned. I think you should weigh what they say with what like the Ministry of Health says, with what information we can get from third parties, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the big question here, and I want to use this as kind of maybe an end to the genocide, not genocide, and more of a more focused onto particular points of what is happening with Israel and Gaza and going on. And because right now, if we keep in the direction, it's going to be like, no, I think it is. No, I think it's not. I want to kind of hone.
We
in
want a
on
circle jerk, bro.
I want
Yeah.
us to focus in on some more, a little bit more tighter than that after this question. But I think the main question that is being danced around in this conversation is intent. Now, Red, I'll start off with first question. Do you think that the things that are going on right now in Gaza are more bad or more good? Like, do you think it's too excessive, or do you think that it's what needs to be done? Like, just where do you lie on that? Like,
Okay. I really need to go to the bathroom. Can you guys just talk for a little bit, and then I can come
Okay.
back?
Yeah,
and
you get
answer,
it.
so I don't miss your guys' response.
Yeah, we could take this as a little break. If anybody else needs to use the
Yeah,
restroom, grab
break.
drinks or anything.
Break. Yeah.
Also, Casey, I've been meaning to ask you: are you locked in for all night, or because we're going at a lot slower of a pace than I was expecting, and I really want you in on when he starts defending Biden.
Is he gonna defend Biden? I don't know enough of his takes. I don't know what I'm going into.
He thinks the economy is working fine, and Biden
Oh, no.
is a decent president, and that generally things are.
I bought a 12-pack of eggs for $7 today.
I know. People can forget that. Okay, I'm going. I'm
Listen,
walking away. I'm walking away.
I'm not. No.
Yeah, I'll be here.
like,
Yeah,
wait,
I'm here. I'm here. I'll be here.
Okay.
I'll be here.
I need to just know because also everybody's getting along a little too much. I will be open and say y'all can get a little bit more rough. All right.
I
You
am
guys
a
are talking
professional
about-
man.
I heard Casey's voice tremble a little bit when he was talking about Israel. I know that you get passionate, man. We could bring that back.
I feel like I mean, obviously the genocide topic is a thing. I feel like talking about more so the apartheid because he seems more on board with accepting parts of that. I think that's
pivoted to that.
yeah.
So I want us to stop circle jerking the whole genocide thing right now. I think
But
it's
I
an
like
important
circle jerks,
conversation.
bro. It's
an
hot.
important conversation, but how long are we willing to go on with it? Like, I think that's fair, right, Casey?
5 hours.
It's that like
Let's
we can't
beat
do a
Finkelstein.
5-hour stream of the nitty gritty on whether this is genocide or not, because then we're missing out on everything else.
But we gotta beat Finkelstein and Destiny. We gotta go longer.
What I'm going to ask when Red is back, and then I'm going to probably give it to you, is that I'm going to ask about intent. And because that's the biggest thing that seems to be, is that I'm going to ask him if he like, yeah, okay, is it more good things going on, bad things? Okay, either way, so you do agree that bad things are going on. Oh, okay, from there, so you think that what separates is the bad things is from genocide is the intent, and if that's yes, then it's going to go. I'm going to ask you two to provide evidence of what your belief of like what intent there is of the genocide, and then I'm going to ask him on why he believes there isn't an intent. So
Okay.
like this is the general flow I'm trying to get out, but from that I want that to bookend the conversation on genocide and go more into apartheid and then more particular things that are going on, and then from there just like solutions and whether Israel had any ground whatsoever in after the Hamas attacks and blah blah blah. So and then from there hopefully we can leave the whole Gaza stuff behind for the next topic.
Okay. I so I know Casey is not interested in it at all. Gorb seems to be. I'm also really interested in like the legal aspects. But
We both are, but we are also going to circle jerk.
We
Yeah,
have
no, no,
we
no.
have topics, and yeah, I want to avoid it
Yeah.
being a 5-hour conversation about just the one. Is it or is it not? I want us to really branch out from there because I think it's doing a disservice to the entire. Well, one, the entertainment of the stream, but also two, the entire situation. Just to be focused on labels, right?
Yeah,
Just,
yeah, yeah.
it's an important label, but if all you do is focus on it, you miss the bigger context.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't suggesting to bring it back. I was suggesting that
Yeah.
like the two of us could talk about it later if you're done.
Also, Nopra, I will get to these questions. We have more people flooding in questions than I was expecting and stuff, but a lot of them are like good pivot questions. So I do want to end with the intent stuff that I was starting up, and then I'd like us to go down a rabbit hole of
Everything else.
than everything else that you heard when you came back, and then get off of Gaza. So okay. So intent. Do you think just generally the things that are going on in Gaza are leaning towards this is super excessive and it leads towards there's more bad happening than good, or do you think there's more good happening than bad? Red.
Okay, I don't think that is a good measure of looking at a conflict.
Okay, do you think there's horrendous things going on that are war crimes and are at least generally just bad? Do you think you can point to things and be like, this is unabashedly bad, no excuse, just this is bad?
Maybe I don't know if that like I will say that I do not know enough about any specific event to call it a war crime.
Okay, fine. Let me try to be a little bit more specific. Is there actions that Israel is taking right now that if you can prove the intent, you would then shift your opinion to that would be genocidal?
Anything that Israel does?
No. Is there a single thing that Israel is doing right now that if the intent could be proven that they're doing it to ethnically cleanse or to kill off a good portion of Palestinians, would then make you believe that this is a genocide? Like any action is going on, whether the bombing, if you could prove that the bombing wasn't because they cared about Hamas, but to kill people, or the food being held up, or anything like this, like any specific point, is there a single one that if the intent shifts to you, this is now a genocide?
I I think if there was proof that the intent was to do this really convoluted genocide of evacuating people, doing bombings to destroy infrastructure, and then intentionally blocking aid, and then just like I don't know, starve them out and stuff. Maybe, but that seems very like
Okay,
convoluted.
but I want a definitive answer of like if that was indeed the intent wasn't to have a military operation to get rid of Hamas, but rather to inflict as much damage and kill as many Palestinians as possible, that would change from this is a military operation in reply to in retaliation to X thing versus would that change from that to this is now I would consider it genocidal territory?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so there is a aspect of intent here. Did they intend to do this? Now, what I'm going to ask is for Casey and Gorp
Yeah,
do you think that intent matters when discussing a genocide? Whether the actions were meant to do uh, have these intended consequences or not?
Yes, I think we're just talking about like the atrocities that are within a genocide. No, but when it comes to actual genocide, yes.
Okay, Casey.
in to some degree it sort of it matters, but I think those their intent probably can be inferred in verse numerous ways, whatever.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, that's where I want to go to. So, with everybody here, what I want it from Gorp and Casey here is for you to give whatever evidence you have for there being an intent of genocide on Israel slash the IDF's part. And from Red, what I would like from you is why you don't believe the intent is there and why there is other explanations of why they would be doing that. Does anybody want to go first?
I got you.
All right, go ahead, Gorp.
Okay. I'll start with I'll start with a couple quotes. Starting with Gallant, the Minister of Defense, if you don't know who he is, on October 10th said to Israeli soldiers in Gaza, "I have removed all restraints. We have taken control on the sector. We're moving on to a full attack. Hamas want to change in Gaza. You have the right to turn that wheel against them." Obviously, that alone does not mean anything. But you look at the rest of it, where on that same day, he said, "We will eliminate everything. If it doesn't take one day, it will take a week, it will take weeks or even months. We will reach all places." He didn't say eliminate Hamas, he said eliminate everything. And that is a, by the way, consistent trend in that they don't say that they will stop Hamas. Ben Gvir, who is the Minister of National Security, said that it be clear that when they say Hamas has to be eliminated, it also means those who celebrate, those who support, those who give away candy, all of those are terrorists and they need to be eliminated. This is in the context of everybody who didn't fight against Hamas is Hamas, essentially. This is the backing for that. We also have the whole Minister of Settlements and National Missions on February 19th saying there's no such thing as Palestinian people, which is always, or not always, is commonly a precursor to this type of a genocide. Fighting human animals, we need to act accordingly. And I could keep going with the quotes, but I don't think that it's necessary. At the end of the day, all of that was happening. All of that was being said whilst they were carrying out what they said they were doing. They eliminate everything. They were carrying all of that out at the same time, which shows that this wasn't just random yapping. It was what they wanted to do, what they intended to do. And they followed through and did all of these things. They also are doing actions that are almost directly in line with Plan Dalit, which is widely recognized by scholars as a genocidal plan that they made in 1948. Plan DALET.
Often referred to Plan D, by the Israel Plan D or something. I get that.
Yeah.
I will add on to that to sort of like what's
Also, wait. I will say when I say almost directly following the line, obviously amended to be in Gaza because it was a plan for the entirety of the area, not just Gaza. Anyways.
Yeah, just remembering the historic nature of like what so starting in 1967, or the Israel they start a war, they end up taking Gaza and the West Bank. In 48 they removed 750,000 Palestinians from their homes, or they ran and they didn't allow them to come back. And then post 67, now they occupy the West Bank and Gaza, and they've been, and then in that instance they also expelled 200,000 Palestinians from their homes. And ever since they've been kicking Palestinians out of their homes, moving them into smaller and smaller locations, moving the people of their own ethnicity into their little ethno settlements. Like this is an ongoing process to remove these people from this land that the founders of Israel considered all of Israel. Like there's no, and this is the sort of like, so this is like the most recent thing of removing Palestinians from Palestine. Like the historical contexts are important in my view, and and I would say also for the standard of no other reasonable explanation. I'd point to the aid being blocked, not allowed in. Everyone, the UN, the UNRWA, the NGOs, Save the Children, everyone is saying that the aid isn't getting in, that it's being blocked. Just let the aid in. Meanwhile, the aid actually that does get in is oftentimes being bombed by Israel, or or as they, and by the way, there's been several like sort of mini flower massacres where Israel's opened fire on other aid trucks in northern Gaza. So it's just like everything in the context of, um, if the context of, I think that the Israel or the government or that everything points to a policy of Palestinians like you need to leave or we're going to kill you all. Basically, that's where it's pointing to, um, very clearly.
Okay. Yeah. So, Gorb, which quotes did you give?
I gave like 6, I think. Bro,
Oh,
I gave a bunch from Gallant specifically, as well as Ben Kabir.
I would throw in that the references to Amalek being important of the good, the people of good and people of light.
Hemlock?
That's yeah.
Yeah. Remind me who they were.
Thank you
Amalek.
for the follow, Kissing Gonzo. Just wanted to throw that.
Oh, kissing God. That's a bot. Just kidding. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm not.
What
I'm
do you
not I
mean,
wasn't really.
kissing
I
God?
wasn't. I think I'm like 50-50 on Gonzo being a bot. I'm really not sure. Anyway, Amalek in the
Holy
the
crap. 1 second. We're putting a pause
Jewish.
and we just got 10 gifted subs.
Yo.
Thank you so much, Sleepy Hazard.
Yo.
W Sleepy Moment. Everybody just take a moment to appreciate this is the shit right here. All right. And
Guess
can
I'll
I
take
get a
shots for
motherfucking-
Sleepy.
So in the Jewish
Wait,
text,
I'm the one that's
Oh.
shilling for Israel. Why aren't I getting money?
Because you're bad chill.
You can
Uh,
get citizenship and
Oh,
and,
maybe.
and a Palestinian house if you want. All right.
in the Jewish religious text, the story of Amalek, the people of Amalek are these evil people beyond evil, and in killing them, man, woman, child, and goat, is not just justified but necessary. That's because we are the people of light and they are the people of the dark. That's when when they refer to Palestinians of Amalek. That is the text and that they're referring to. It's a not very well disguised dog whistle.
okay. Do you think they're calling all of Palestine or all Palestinians Amalek or Hamas?
When all of Palestine,
Why?
of the people, because the Amalek refers to a race of people,
Mm.
and so when they say this is a war against Amalek, I think that the most reasonable explanation is that they're, if nothing else, can so easily be inferred by the soldiers as that, and I think that a reasonable, a reasonable. A reasonable person would infer that these instances are referring to the people of Palestine as such. I could look at the exact quotes, especially for.
I mean, you could also just look at like what they tell the Palestinians that they don't tell the rest of us, like the leaflets that they drop on northern Gaza, where they say everyone who hasn't evacuated from northern Gaza to the south might be treated as a member of a terrorist organization. So even if they were just talking about the terrorists, they're not just treating like terrorists. They're not just treating only terrorists as terrorists.
Okay. I think that's fine on that. Okay.
I have a quote. I think this is it. That I will punish the Amaleks. Oh, sorry, I will punish the Amaleks for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them and they came up from Egypt. Now go attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death. Wait, oh, this is men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. Oh, this is the Bible quote. Sorry. I'm looking for Netanyahu's quote. Sorry, one second.
Yeah, basically, what I understand is the comparison is to Hamas, not to the Palestinian people. Also, how do you guys feel?
Wait, I just have to say, with that comparison, it still calls for the death of more than Hamas. It doesn't just call for the death of the fighters, the Amalek fighters. It calls for much more than that. The quote.
Women, children, infants, and cattle, sheep, camels, and donkeys. That's the end of the quote. Everything. That is the quote that he's referring.
Yeah. Do you think the main focus is the sheep there?
The main focus.
I mean, they have killed animals
that you
and
need to
raised
wipe them the fuck
farmland.
out. That they are pure evil. That all of them. That is the main focus.
Yeah, and that description does fit Hamas. They want to wipe out
Dude,
Hamas.
Are there
dude.
infants in
Stop.
Hamas?
No.
Exactly. So that's the thing. So the thing about Amalek is there are these people that fought, and those are the bad guys.
Mhm.
And so you must go fight them and kill them, and then kill everybody else as well. That is the thing about Amalek that is a problem here. Is that it's not just saying kill the fighters. It's saying kill everybody.
Okay.
You made eye contact with a Hamas, you should die. That's basically what Amalek says.
Okay. Well, I just interpret things differently, I guess. Let's shift gears though. And you think this is the main kind of drives of the conflict, right?
Dude, in your case,
Both of
Land.
you.
It's all about. It's always been about land.
I think it's always been about land and always been about subjugating
Mhm.
Palestinians.
Mhm.
It's a race of
And-
people on the land. They don't want to be there.
Yeah, and you think their goal is to kill as many of them as possible.
Was never actually my claim.
I think their goal is,
To intentionally wipe them out.
I think that they would love for the Palestinians to leave, and
Yeah.
I think that that's what they would have preferred, and actually the good evidence that
Yeah, right now there's only one way the Gazans are leaving, because it's not through Egypt.
Yeah, you're right. It's death.
Yeah, so you guys are saying that the point of the military operations in Gaza is to kill Gazans.
Is to
Rid
destroy.
Gaza of Gazans.
Yeah, to destroy them.
To destroy Palestinian life, not to necessarily kill as many Gazans as possible. Conditions of life brought about to bring, or conditions of life calculated to bring about its demands.
Okay, how do you feel about the death tolls then?
They're fucking crazy.
Mhm.
Like, what?
I agree.
Someone in chat said 30,000 Gazan civilians dead in 6 months.
Are we still using 30,000 number?
It's 32,000 Gazans.
Yeah, 32,000 Gazans. That I think those are Ministry of Health numbers, and they do not include combatants.
No, that they do. The
think that's-
Hamas
They do.
demonstrate that they just list bodies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they label
they don't know
everything.
who is or who isn't.
Yeah,
Okay, well, we can agree, right, everybody here, that there's not 30,000 Hamas combatants, right?
That are dead?
Wait,
No.
that are yeah. No one's
Yeah,
saying
so
that.
out of that,
all of them are
out
dead.
of that 30,000, the majority is probably civilians. Everybody on the okay.
Yes.
Vast majority.
All right, so what do we think about those numbers? Starting with Red, then Gorp, then Casey.
I think hot take coming in: dead civilians bad.
Holy shit, we can't add this guy on, guys.
Banned.
The IDF is shuffling behind the scenes. They're like, unmic him, unmic him.
I don't think that this is a good question, and okay, I feel like we're all gonna say civilian death bad. There's not a different answer here.
No, well, but it was brought up. So what is the point about bringing up the death rates? Sorry, let me, kind of focus in on that.
Okay.
Red, you brought in the death, and somebody just happened as soon as you said that to say there was 30,000 Gazan deaths
Mhm.
in 6 months. So, and we just clarified that. All right, it might be a little bit less, but it may include combatants, may not, but the overwhelming majority of that would be civilians. So, with
Mhm.
that in mind, continue on what you were saying about the Gazan deaths.
Okay. Who? What do you guys think is the number of Hamas militants killed?
I think at this point you're probably hovering somewhere around 10, give or take, a couple thousand. 10,000.
Really?
10,000.
Okay, interesting.
I would
Casey?
probably say the number that we're working off of is like bodies. I think that of the Hamas militants, of those dead, I think that probably half of the dead are dead in a cave somewhere, buried, or their escape houses or whatever been bombed or what.
Yeah, this is of the counted death toll.
Yeah, of the
Yeah.
counted death toll, I would say about probably 5,000.
That's lower. That's lower than what Hamas says, by the way.
Oh yeah. Okay. I am.
But-
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that you went with 10. So I now these are old numbers. So I have from February 19th, because that is the only time that I can find that Hamas.
Yes, they only released them once. Yes.
Yeah. They only released it once. So death count as of February 19th, militant death count as of February 19th, except for I did add in a US number.
I think it's an
So-
Israel number. Israel has a higher number, but that was released, I think, a couple weeks after Hamas released theirs.
Yeah,
So when Hamas says that X amount of people of their fighters are dead or whatever, I don't think that number is like we look through that list and this is how many people of those were Hamas. I think it's like this is the amount of people that we think are dead. So, and my main point was like if half the fighters that in the Hamas are dead underground somewhere, like they're not being counted by the Hamas ministry. So that's why I said of the bodies that are in morgues or in mass graves or whatever. That's why I say about half the dead the Hamas are probably amongst them, and the other half are probably buried in tunnels somewhere, and not
okay,
counted
okay.
by the MedWatch.
Okay, so and that's where you think their 5,000 comes from? Or not their 5,000, your 5,000 or whatever.
That's what I put. I put probably or yeah, 5,000 of that 30,000 number of total dead. That's where I get that. That's where, and then there's another 5,000 that aren't being counted by Human MedWatch, but are being counted by Hamas as like fighters that we don't longer have or whatever.
Okay. I understand where you're coming from. I do kind of want to stay away from it because it is even more speculative than the numbers, which are kind of speculative themselves. Okay. So, Gorb, with your number of 10,000, the death toll would be
1 to 3.
1 to
1 to 3 ratio. I don't know. The death toll would be
1 to 2.
no.
Yeah.
1 to 2. Yeah, sorry. Math. Not my thing.
What do you think the average civilian casualty ratio is in urban conflict?
High as fuck. That's not relevant though, because my claim has consistent. I mean, I guess we haven't talked about this. So my claim is that the Hamas death tolls have risen dramatically since the ground invasion.
Mhm.
But a huge fucking chunk of the civilian deaths is just from the bombings, which don't really get that many Hamas. That's the thing, is that the ground invasion gets Hamas. The bombings don't. They don't fucking, in large part, touch Hamas.
Okay, wait. Okay, so your claim. Okay, do you think
This ratio has not always been the case, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's
Do you think that the ground invasion was justified, but that they shouldn't have engaged in the bombing?
I think that the ground invasion, in a lot of what they have done, definitely not everything, but a lot of what they've done is fine.
Interesting. I had just assumed that you were going to take a more hardline stance.
No, I have a brain.
Seems
Yeah.
like we're finally making that pivot there. So I do have some questions from chat that is I've been kind of
I
holding
am
on to.
not done with my point about numbers.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, come on, Anna Kay.
Okay.
I
Bitch.
thought he paused there. Sorry, my bad.
No, that just really caught me off guard. Okay, how many times more likely do you think you are to die if you are a militant as opposed to a civilian?
A shit ton more, but you're also not running. That's why.
Hmm?
A shit ton more, but you're also not running. That's why.
Yeah. Don't you think that works in Israel's favor for like accurately targeting things?
Well, they can go on a ground invasion into Gaza
In
and have people
general,
run at them and they shoot. That's my thing. Is it's much easier to have a better death toll in Gaza because as much as it is very densely populated, it is much less than it was, especially in places like Gaza City and to an extent Khan Yunis, much less than it was. Their ground invasion is in a much less dense area than Gaza was prior to the bombing. So in their ground invasion, they see somebody running at them, and they can go, "That's probably Hamas because that person's got a gun and is running at me." In their bombing campaign, they see somebody running because they hear the fucking plane, and they go, "That's Hamas. I'm gonna bomb them," and that's not actually Hamas.
Okay, so do you think
That's the reason to think of everybody. But
if,
yeah,
if the bombing campaign was not happening, this would not be a genocide?
I think if the bombing campaign was not happening and did not happen, then we'd have to look at the ground invasion. Because your ground invasion would also look much different.
Yeah. Interesting.
But that's a hypothetical that just isn't what happened. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, basically, what I have is let's see if I can share this with you guys.
Volcus, stop being a little bitch. Whore.
This is share screen. So
You might have to get
made
perms. Oh, you can.
this. See if I can get it up. So what this is population, different counts of Hamas, and then I actually left in space if you guys wanted to disagree with me.
I mean, I'm at 32,000, but that's such a minuscule difference. I'm at 32,000 for that number, but it's been since reported as 32,000.
This is average. So
Average of what, a bunch of things that you've seen?
5, 30, and 40. So this
wait. What are these numbers of?
What
Of Hamas members? Is this of Hamas members or is this deaths? Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, this is member. Oh no, these aren't deaths.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. So then civilian population, militant population, and then different death tolls for or different estimates on militant deaths, and then we just subtract that and get the civilian deaths. We have death percentage, combatant ratio, and then the total percent of the civilian population and militant population. And if you divide this number by this number, you get this. And I would point to this as a more objective way of seeing if there are certain things being considered. So like the distinction part and the what do you call it? And the proportionality. So that is an argument that I would use. Let me stop. How do I stop sharing screen?
You should just press the button again.
So I would argue that those things indicate, generally speaking, that Israel is doing, how would you say,
Their due diligence.
doing due diligence in, like in general, not in specific circumstances, that they are following like target distinction and the numbers. While bad, I'm not going to say that civilians are good. Obviously, it seems to be a reasonable when we're talking about.
Can you state those ratios that you sort of ended up with at the end there? I think I know what you were saying. I'm not sure. You never said it explicitly. Like this is the ratio of this to this and this to this, and therefore.
Okay. So I have 70% civilian death percentage, a 1 to 2.4 combatant to civilian death ratio, and 0.88% of all of Gazans have died, and well, all Gazan civilians have died, and 27.6% of all Hamas militants have died as of January 19th.
Also, I believe I just want to point out, I'm pretty sure that Hamas statement, I don't think they said militants. I think they said Hamas members. Did they not?
I don't know.
Because there is a distinction here, right? Like fucking bureaucracy isn't fighters. So
Yeah, but I mean, as I understand it, there are people who serve dual roles in like
yeah, no. All I'm saying is that it doesn't necessarily. We can go with it being militants, but I just want to like recognize between us that it doesn't necessarily mean it's all militants.
I understand. I also looked at some membership estimates for specifically the Qasem brigades, and those were just bigger, and like the ranges were bigger. They probably would have averaged out to the same thing anyway, roughly speaking.
No, I'm talking about like the death count that Hamas put out in February of the 6,000. Yeah, that specific. Their fucking total numbers. I don't think anybody really knows. We have a decent estimate. We can go with that. But I'm just pointing out that like it doesn't necessarily mean it's all militants. Probably majority. But I just want to point that out between the two of us. You don't have to fucking change your numbers for it or anything.
Okay.
Mostly because it doesn't address anything that I just said. So.
Yeah, I mean, do we know the amounts of deaths in the ground invasion, both militant and civilian?
Like just from the ground invasion?
No.
I don't think so. But like the death toll, especially when you're looking at the beginning of the bombing, the intense fucking, some of the heights of the bombing, the death toll, fucking going crazy, and being crazy amounts of women and children like that. At some point, you got to see that like their ground invasion may be doing decent, and they fuck up quite a bit. But I'm not actually that opposed to how they've done the ground invasion in the north.
Okay.
It's the bombing that is the problem. It's the bombing that is completely indiscriminate, if not targeting civilians.
That a moment ago, I think that those stats or whatever, I've heard Israeli apologists, or I've heard them use this insane comparison where they compare the percentage of Hamas that has been being killed, and then they compare that to the percentage of civilians that are being killed, and they think that this is somehow an important ratio to look at or something. Is that to confirm that that's what you were doing?
I think it is a more objective tool to look at things like proportionality and distinction.
Okay. So if they're, let's say you could say 30. By the way, so the 30 whatever that 32 that 30 that those are like actually confirmed death or whatever. And the 40,000.
No, we're talking about Hamas membership numbers in those numbers.
Hold on. Right. So so for a moment, so the total deaths are we could say 30,000. It's fine. Total deaths, all deaths, 30,000 whatever. And the total number of Hamas dead. What did we go with? 10,000 or whatever. That's 25%.
No. So what I did is I took the Hamas number of 6,000, the Israeli number of 12,000, and the U.S. estimate of 7,500. Granted, that was from January 21st, not February 19th.
And what did we end up with? What's the number you want to go with? Not the Hamas dead.
8,500, yes.
So 8.5 guys. So you're saying that we've killed roughly almost 25% of Hamas membership, and that's an estimate, right? So 30 to 40,000.
Yeah. Actually, I am pretty sure I have an archive linked as a source, and I think that's where it all comes from. Yeah.
Okay, so we got the 20. So you're saying, so well, we've killed 25% of the militants, and we've only killed 0.08% or whatever, 0.8%, whatever the amount of the civilians we've killed. That's the important ratio, whatever. Using that same fucking logic, that math that you're using or whatever, If you killed 100,000 Palestinian civilians, and
Mm.
that's only like 1% or less than 1% of the population, but you did that in order to kill 7 of the 8 Hamas members, 7 of 8. So to kill 7 people, but there's only 8 of them. So you killed 100,000 people to kill 7 militants. And then, but that's a really good number. You killed 90% of the militants, and you only killed 1% of the civilians.
Yeah.
Is this an important fucking ratio to use?
In that case, no. But we are not
Right.
talking about a terror cell of 8 people. We're talking about
No.
a organization that has
We're evaluating
30,000.
your method for evaluation.
What up,
So I
Rainbow? How's
plugged
your
in
night going,
some other
buddy?
numbers to see if your math equation makes sense. Is this something that we should look at? Is this something that is important when we're evaluating whether or not the bombing campaign is moral or just or being done in a humane way or whatever? So we plug in some different numbers to see if something so fucking outrageous like killing 100,000 civilians to get to 7 people, would your equation make this seem like a good thing or a bad thing? Would it make it your equation, right? That equation would make that seem like a great ratio,
It
right?
would, but that's why you use other things.
Is that an important? So then, is that an important
Are
ratio to use? Is that
yes,
something
because you have to
important
consider it in the context. Yes,
in context? What do you mean? It
in
either
the
is
context of the war.
or
What in the context would there be?
we plugged in the numbers, and you got 2 numbers. This is the percent of militants that we killed, and this is the percent of civilians you killed, and you're using these numbers to see how good job we're doing or whatever. But
No, 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 no. That is not what I'm saying. What
okay,
I'm saying is that this number is a kind of like objective way of of putting that this is not some extremely indiscriminate bombing campaign.
what I'm
You
saying that the
you
ratios that you're using
Mhm.
are fucking there. That doesn't make any sense to use that ratio because you can kill 100,000 people to get to 7 people, and as long
Ye-
as there was only 8 militants, then under those ratios, the ratios that you're looking at, the same fucking monsters that would have done that thing would use such a ratio to make it seem like we're doing a great job. We're doing a
okay.
great job.
Okay.
We killed
Do
90% of the
do
militants, and we
do
only
you
killed less than
remember
100%,
do you
1% of
remember
the
what
civilians.
ratio I said before I read out that number?
Nope.
The combatant to civilian death ratio.
That is a more important number, certainly. Actually, it's the stupid ratio is not at all important, and that is the
Could
important
you read
ratio.
it out, Red?
Yeah, it's 1 to 2.42. And using Gorps it would be quote unquote better, just for the record.
Here's an important evaluation because we're using here's some numbers that we basically know. Of the list of names that that are very more planted in facts or whatever. Of the names that the Ministry of Health has reported, there's a bunch of names. Here's the names. Here's the names of the dead or whatever. 43% of them were quote unquote children, or 18 or younger. So 43% of them. The amount of total people who, the percent of people who are 18 and younger in Gaza is 50%.
Mhm.
And so if 43% of the dead are 18 or younger, and 50% of the total population is 18 or younger, like we could use this ratio to discern whether the bombing is targeted or indiscriminate. And with this ratio, it's basically, and then also calculate that the people who went south are more likely to be women and children, and have been less likely to be bombed, which is a good thing. But given this ratio, it's very hard to make a case that they're actually targeting militants.
I
Would
have
you
a
agree?
question.
What?
What is a good ratio, Casey? What is a ratio that you believe is would be an indication that this is a targeted at Hamas and not indiscriminate? Just so we can get that out of the way.
Right. So, a perfect bombing campaign, and then we could say that
Doesn't have to be perfect. What is what you would accept as like these are
His yapping is killing any fucking argument because he's stupid, bro. What the fuck?
Point you get that?
I would certainly say that if the dead were only 20% children, given the 50% of the population size, I would say that would show some degree of actual targeting, of not indiscriminate bombing.
What about civilian to combatant ratio, though? We both heard you say that that was an important number, so give that number. Right now,
Civilian-
it's at 1 to 2.45, if I'm correct, Red. Unless if I'm getting lost.
2.42.
Oh,
Close
2.4.
enough.
Okay,
Well,
yeah.
well, with the numbers I have, it's going to be different from the numbers now. I took old numbers specifically due to Hamas releasing information on
Okay.
their dead militants.
And that's an important number, in Casey. You said that's an important number. So what would that number look like to you? Or what could that number what number would to you make it seem
Chat,
this is
be nice, be civil, being
targeted,
respectable members of the
and
community
Hamas
today.
and not indiscriminate just bombing of Palestinians?
So yeah, so in that ratio, it definitely would. It would be highly related to like the area in which we're bombing, and we're bombing a very populated area. But I would say that and this is sort of like the morality. If you're for every fucking terrorist or enemy combatant that you kill, if you also killing one civilian, that in my instance would be unacceptable. You should like at least be doing better than that. But I'm saying that that you asked me for a very subjective evaluation, but the evaluation that I put forth was merely a statistical representation of how of the likelihood that their bombs are indiscriminate. That's all the information that I put forth. I didn't give a number of civilian to military ratio that would be good or bad, or it would be highly dependent. All I did was put forth a statistical evaluation that points to a large percentage of the bombs actually not being aimed at anything at all and just being indiscriminate. That was my evaluation of the statistics and what I put forth.
Okay. And Red, I have a question for you. Do you think that Israel is doing everything that they can in order to keep these numbers as low as possible for civilian deaths, and do everything they can to make sure that Hamas is being targeted more than it being indiscriminate in nature?
I think they're doing a pretty decent job on the whole. Obviously, this is not a defense of every single thing that happens. Do I think they're doing everything? I don't know. Like like we talked about earlier, we don't have access to the process that goes into making these decisions, when to strike.
True. Well,
who
is
to
there
strike,
anything you
things like
think
that.
they could do then? Is there anything that, from your perspective, limited perspective, that you think could be done better in order to reduce these numbers?
In order to reduce them, I I would have to think about it.
Can I give you a suggestion?
Yeah.
Precision guided bombing. Currently, they use a shit ton of dumb bombs. They have the ability to not use those. They have the ability to do precision strikes, as they've shown in Beirut and Damascus. And at times, very few, but at times in Gaza. What about using those much more widespread?
Mm. Uh, I'm not sure how much better they are.
They can take out they can take out a singular apartment in an apartment building without collapsing the building.
Is it reasonable to assume that they could use this on a wide scale?
Yeah, America gives them a shit ton of them that don't get used.
Maybe they should use more of them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was just saying, like, as a suggestion for, I mean, that's like what I've talked about since when this started, was like, at least do that.
When you say dumb bombs, you just mean unguided bombs.
Yeah, basically. Unguided, and also just the way they drop them is
They're
haphazard.
so
But that's just how they do it. They're still targeted, but they miss their target. Like, Israel admits that they miss their target all the time.
Okay.
So I just think that that's a basic thing. It doesn't even have to do with the whole, like, oh, they're doing genocide, oh, they're horrible, whatever the fuck. It's just like that's something they have the ability to do better that they don't.
Yeah, maybe. I'd have to look into it.
Okay.
What do you think their objectives are militarily?
I think their objectives are to kill. I'm sorry. Eliminate.
Yeah, come on, TOS.
Yeah. Eliminate, not kill. I think their objective is to eliminate as many Hamas members as they can, to the point where Hamas is a non-functioning entity.
And how do they know who's in Hamas and who's not?
They have intelligence.
Yeah, I'm sure they do have some intelligence. They might have 1,000 names. But no, they also tend to, bomb people that are in, and they know that they're part of the Al Qassam brigade, just like randomly or whatever. But they're almost always like wearing masks in all the videos. There's a thing that the idea that they have a list of even the majority of people that are in Hamas is pretty. I don't think that I think that would be a very hard thing to have achieved in such a place. They might have 1,000 names certainly, but
Well, Casey, you're not one to talk. You're an AI lover, and they also use AI to try to find targets.
Yeah. I mean, the point I'm trying to make is, with this number, with the civilian death ratio to combatants, and the total percentage, all those numbers seem to be in line with wars that were not done with genocidal intent.
Okay, I also want to wait, shut the fuck up, Casey. We're talking about genocide. You can shut up now. I also want to point out that we are specifically talking about genocidal intent, and it's the intent to do the genocide, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not just killing. Like you're citing killing as your example, as to your proof as to how, without doing that much of a deep dive into where these deaths are coming from. But I will let that one slide. It doesn't address the entirety of the rest of what's happening. It is just the killing. Get the fucking frowny face out of here, Casey. You showed your stupidity today already. Like, do you have something that addresses any of the other aspects of genocide and their intent to not do those? Like, they have an intent to blockade.
Okay.
Which brings about the conditions.
I am ready to make the jump to aid, but I want to.
Well, no, I'm just talking about it in regards to genocidal intent. That's also what I'm saying. Like, can help show genocidal intent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would agree with you. If, like that could be genocidal intent.
Okay. So I like you were just presenting what you have against the genocidal intent, and all you have is death count. I just feel like that's not enough.
Yeah. So this would be the like direct targeting things. So this is like the direct killing, things like that.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that doesn't disprove genocidal intent. That's just what I'm trying to point out. And I'm wondering if you have anything else, or if that's what you have.
Everything else would be us transitioning to aid.
Also, before I
Okay.
get to that, I'd also throw out, yeah, because you're sort of asking them to
And
disprove a negative, but yeah, I would throw out the destroying of 12 graveyards. The they basically destroyed everything. I mean, what I don't think it's like 80% in the North Gaza, and they're working their way south, and now there's no a hospital left alone. It's just like it's systematically like they're just it's the meme. They're making it the fucking parking lot. I would also put that up to like that they're clearing Gaza of of any evidence that there were ever Gazans there. I'd put that to 4 as well.
Anyways, we can move on to 8 because
Also,
I
can we
feel like we
take
can
some
have more
chat questions
conversations.
too?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure.
I do want to address some chat questions. So we have a few chat questions, and some of these feel targeted. Some of them I'm not quite sure, so I'm just going to throw them out there. Some of these questions I want to kind of just lead into the aid and what should generally be done with the whole Israel-Gaza situation. So Mr. Ducky had 2 questions. The first being, what needs to be achieved? What needs to be done to achieve lasting regional peace? Does this mean less Gazans in the area, or what type? What does that mean from Israel's point of view? And they coupled that in. What is Israel's actual solution to the Gaza conflict, like a long-term solution? Same, and then Nopra added in, what is the permanent solution here? The conflict in Palestine has been going for more than 100 years. Like, what is the end goal since this started? And somebody threw in, if Gaza is a genocide, what should the reaction of the U.S. and globe be? But I just want to say, just in general, even if you don't consider it a genocide, what should be the reaction? So these are all, I know this is a lot of questions, but I just want those floated around and be addressed as we're like moving on to the next phase of this conversation so just to reiterate, what is the end goal here? What needs to be done, and what should the world's role be in that?
Yeah.
The little questions I see.
PVG, god damn it.
Yeah, the little questions. I think that I don't think Israel really has a plan, just like internally. I don't think they necessarily have a plan for like the day after. I don't think they do. I don't think Hamas has a plan for the day after either. I think it's at this point like not necessarily being thought about a ton in realistic ways. But I would say it's more long term to solve this, or to get to a place of relative peace in regards to the entire Palestine-Israel thing. A one-state solution is the only way. I think up until like 1975, you could have made the case for a two-state solution. At this point, it's not something that either side would accept or agree on deals, or agree on the premise of, really. So I don't think that a two-state solution, I think it's a waste of time to continue to push for at this point. In regards to what the U.S. should do, the U.S. should stop sending fucking money. First of all, I think that's the most important thing. If money for weapons, I think that's the most important thing.
Wait, if you think
Red.
if this is a genocide, do you not want like some form of peacekeeping services coming in?
That's part of the one-state solution.
A peacekeeping?
Yeah.
Who's peacekeeping? Gorp, who's peacekeeping?
What? You just ask if you want me to have peacekeeper? I want America to make Israel stop. I don't trust that the UN will do it. Of course, if you get UN peacekeepers, that's good, but I don't think that's going to do enough. Israel's already hitting UN peacekeepers in Lebanon as of like 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see that as really making a difference there.
Casey, do you?
This is where we divulge a bit. The answer to question. First of all, these people, God's damn, do they fucking hate each other? God's damn. The Israelis are some of the most fucking racist people that you'll ever fucking meet. Swear to Christ. And go ahead and throw Palestinians on there. I've seen fucking pictures. I've seen pictures of Hitler on the walls of Palestinians' houses or whatever. Like, God damn, you cannot fucking. Oh, you all live together now. No, fuck that. Neither one of neither one of these two fucking peoples get to fucking laud their fucking military over the other, and they cannot just fucking throw them together. And even if none of that was true, the one state solution is the political viability of that is actually fucking zero.
So
And
is a two
also,
state.
I also believe in the idea of self-determination. If Israel wants to have their little fucking their little Jewish ethno state or whatever, like just fucking, you could fucking have it. You could fucking have it. But you need to fucking get the fuck out of West Bank. You need to get the fuck out of Gaza. That ain't your shit. If you could have your fucking little ethno state, if that's what you all want, go fucking have it. But
Are you calling for the forcible relocation of 700,000 people?
Ooh,
which people?
West Bank settlers.
West Bank settlers and their kids as well,
the
who
West Bank
didn't fucking do the
genocide.
The
thing.
West Bank settlers, they built the settlement so that a two-state solution could never be viable, and they
Yes.
continue to do that. You cannot respond to do such a inaction with okay, well, I guess you're right. I guess you're right. No. The reason that those things are there is an obstacle to fucking peace. So get them the fuck out.
Yes, you're going to forcibly relocate 700,000 people, including children, including, considering these are hyper trad people, probably heavily abused
It
wives.
doesn't like, and it doesn't
Like at the end of the day, stop, just for a second. At the end of the day, what you're doing is still the forcible expulsion of 700,000 people. I agree with you. They should not be there in the first place. They are now. There are generations there now. That is not a solution anymore.
So there have been maps drawn where like where majority of the settlements can be kept in place where it's a percent land swap for it's Greenland for Greenland. It's not Greenland for desert. There's map drawn where like 60% of the settlers get to stay. And by the way, the ones that aren't in that 60%, the ones that are fucking knee deep in fucking the West Bank or whatever, these are the fucking terrorist crazies that fucking that are out there fucking harassing the people in the West Bank on the daily and just to get them. Yeah, so the ones that are closer to like in the north and in the east or whatever, there I've seen map drawings where
Maps have been drawn. Not agreed on. And you're still calling for 350,000 people to be.
Your answer of one state, that the political viability is actually fucking fucking zero.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
actually zero. You might as well be talking about like fantasy land and Lord of the Rings shit or whatever. Yeah, we all want kumbaya, motherfucker. Like fucking world peace, solve world hunger, all the things. Yeah, we advocate for fucking like fucking Star Trek communism or whatever the fuck. That's great. Go ahead and think that that's the best fucking solution in a perfect world. That's fine. The political viability, the odds of that happening is actually fucking zero. It's actually fucking zero. And if it ever were to happen, it would be in a huge fucking shit show. The Israelis, the Jews / Israelis would still have all the money and all the power and all the political blah 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 blah. It would just be like a different fucking apartheid system than the current one. You swap.
One's been tried for 75 years. I'm just saying, one hasn't been tried.
The only thing that hasn't been tried.
Actually, one has kind of been tried in Mandate, and it was better than what's happening right now. But
Mandate was a shit show, but two states.
It was better than what's happening right now, though.
Anyway. Brad, did you have thoughts on?
Thoughts on what again? I'm sorry. I got lost in the
dang.
conversation.
The final solution.
Jesus Christ, Casey.
Jesus.
One or two state. Brad, how about that? Let's go with that.
Gorp, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
One or two state. What are your thoughts?
Fuck. I think what we should do instead is just go back to city states.
Anarchism? Pure libertarian wet dream. Let's do it.
Oh my god. No. I am kind of a doomer because on one hand it doesn't seem like this situation can go on forever, but also it doesn't seem like this situation can change. I'm
also a doomer, don't get me wrong. I am also very much a doomer. That's also why I want a one state, is because it's the one solution that hasn't been attempted. Everything else fell apart, especially after 75. And
I don't know. I think that there's going to be a lot of internal conflict and probably civil wars.
Oh yeah, I don't deny that.
Okay.
Right.
It wouldn't be pretty.
Why-
I'm not saying it'd be pretty. I'm saying it'd be prettier than the alternatives.
You've said a few
Okay.
times that you said that Israel isn't apartheid.
Yeah.
Can you make your case?
Are we not going to do it?
Oh yeah, sorry. Oh sorry. Yeah, we got distracted. Fine, fine, fine. Israel's blocking aid. Prove me wrong or something.
Yeah. What
That is what
do you guys where's my thing? Did I close it? Okay, no, I do have it. I guess the question would be, what would satisfy your guys' requirements for aid coming in?
Israel heavily pushing back and stopping the blocking of aid by Israeli civilians.
Blocking aid.
Okay. Stopping the blocking of aid from civilians. Also, expanding Kogat so that they actually have the ability. They'll still make an excuse they can't process the trucks, but expanding Kogat, which they have the manpower to do, they just don't put the manpower on the border. So putting that manpower on the border to inspect more trucks and to ultimately allow more in.
Mm-hmm.
That's like number one.
Okay. Anything else?
I mean, they should also open more crossings so that you can further expand that aid and maybe chill the fuck out with some of what you don't allow in, but that's secondary, I'd say.
Okay. How many trucks a day do you think needs to go into Israel?
At least 600.
Israel. At least 600. Where are you
It
getting
was
that number?
450 to 500 before the war.
Were those all aid?
They were aid trucks getting it. They included more than just food and water
Yeah.
and medicine, but they were still all aid. They were coming in to repair damage from Israel's previous escapades.
Mhm.
But they were all necessary.
Yeah. How much was food aid?
I don't know the exact percentage.
It's 22. 42% were construction.
That's still
So-
needed, bro.
It is needed to like help fix up infrastructure, sure. However, when there's a war going on and infrastructure gets hit and stuff,
It does get fixed. It does get fixed. I can, in fact, cite you that through there was a dude who was working on the internet lines who got specific permission from Israel to go to a specific place to repair the lines there. He went there, then he got drone strike directly after. But he was allowed specifically by Israel to go and repair this shit.
Okay. So how like 500 trucks of aid to 600 trucks of aid? Where do you get that number from?
They need more than they had before.
That is not necessarily true, though.
That just straight up is, bro.
Not.
They need more food, medical, and water, yes, but they also need all of the rest of the shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it doesn't get it now, they're probably gonna get blocked on their fucking construction materials again, and then they're not gonna be able to fix anything.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, there is no reason for them to not let cement in at this point. No reason.
Do you think that if the rate of trucks coming into the strip continues, that will satisfy what you think is true, or
Wait, if what?
if the rate of trucks keeps increasing, will that satisfy what you think is necessary for the area?
I mean, it depends on what it increases to.
I mean, I think
Israel said an increase was 180, and then said they kept increasing, and then it was 190. Like that's not enough.
I mean, that's up from 70, is it not?
That's up from 70, but it's been constant at 180, 190 for months. There's special days, but at the end of the day, it averages out to 180, 190, something like that.
I have a question for both chat and I. What sites are you primarily getting your stats from? For
I do a mix of a bunch of shit.
Casey.
I usually
are
mix
they
like
Western sources? Could you like?
I usually mix
So-
Israel, UN, Al Jazeera, and just like actual report, not for stats, but like for situational shit, the reports on the ground.
Yeah, so for stats, I have UN stats. I believe they come from OHCA. I have one Israeli source, which is also consistent with those numbers. I have Reuters, and I have various like AP and stuff
Yeah,
citing.
various random news sources that say the same
Yeah,
thing, but they're all usually also citing the same thing. So
yeah,
it's
yeah. So a lot of it cites like the Gaza Ministry of Health for information in the strip.
Casey doesn't get information.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mostly
Casey doesn't even get to answer that one.
UN, UNRWA, various NGOs, Save the Children, Amnesty, the better ones.
Okay, I guess the conversation then is, do you think it's intentional, the blocking of aid?
Yes.
Yes, at the court, everyone says that the Israelis are not letting the aid through for of various reasons. That the reason keeps changing. First, well, they don't let it in on on Saturday because the UN said not to or something, and then that was the whole thing in the UK, and then they actually high-ranking UK officials are basically tweeted at the Kogat account like that this is false, this is wrong, we confirm this, stop lying or whatever. And then it's being turned away for because these scissors that are some they're considered. And by the way, they find something you don't like, they just turn the whole truck away. They just turn away. The CNN report was like about a week ago. They're like eight's not getting in and blah blah. And like today, the Israelis say they cleared 15, but only 7 showed up. We asked them why did we only get 7 in, and the Israelis only had they gave a list of only 15 truck drivers that were confirmed to go, that were checked, quote unquote checked, security checked to go through, and of that number, 8 were already in Gaza, so they only allowed the 7 to go through. Meanwhile, we're talking about like 2 to 3 miles of trucks lined up and have been for months. Just let them through.
Just
And also,
wait, are you saying you want them to go through without any Israeli inspection?
first of all, that doesn't matter at all. It's all from the UN and shit. What do we think in there? But by the way, but the UN the inspections are just there to slow down the process or whatever.
You
And by the way, if they
don't
want
think
to,
there's a legitimate security reason for them to be going through trucks containing tons of stuff coming into the gun to the
do you think
territory?
UNRWA is going to? You think is UNRWA sending guns?
Uh,
What
that is
what?
probably not
Probably not.
very many of them. No.
Probably not. What do you what do you on the list of things that they've turned trucks away for includes anesthesia. Anesthesia. Meanwhile, people just a mile away are getting their fucking legs cut off without anesthesia for like really fucked up shit. What of the list of things that they've turned away trucks for do you consider to be like important that they're checking for, or that you heard them turning away trucks for? It's like, oh, that's important. Yeah, I'm glad that didn't get through. And by the
Do,
way,
do,
all of this is
do we
useless
have
because
explicit statements saying, "Oh, this truck was turned away for these reasons"
From drivers.
from drivers?
and the aid agencies.
Yeah.
By the way,
I,
Israel, if they
I,
wanted to, they could send the soldiers out to the huge line of trucks. They could like check with them like while they're in the line. Like this one's good, this one's good. As if like, do I think it's necessary? No, but do I think they could do it like 10 times more quickly than they're doing it now? Of course, I think that. And if it's not one thing, it's the other. Like I said before, now they have like a prerequisite for drivers that they allow in. and that it's a short list. Like if it's not the one thing, it's another thing. It's the UN says that Israel's not letting them in. UNRWA says that Israel isn't letting the trucks in, and that they're deliberate in them stopping the aid. Like they have total control of the fucking gates. Like of course we've seen them let through. You know, they obviously have the capacity to. And by the way, when 500 trucks were being let into Gaza, all of those were checked. All of those were checked because it's a siege. So if we know they could do 500, why only is it 70 or whatever? Why don't think is it not, or is it that now?
It's not 70. Yeah, but yeah. How long do you think it takes to go through one of these trucks?
How long do you think? Because I will go with it doesn't fucking matter. They have the ability to do it. They have the manpower to do it. Because currently the issue mostly is that they don't put enough manpower. If you put more manpower, you can inspect more trucks. They have the manpower, just not placed on the border crossings.
Mm-hmm.
They have the ability to do it. They've shown it in the past. We already know. But, like, they have the ability to do this. They choose not to.
Okay. What would you say about Kogat saying there are 400 trucks waiting to be picked up and distributed from the Gazan side, the Kerem Shalom passing post-Israeli inspection 7 hours ago?
They have not ever shown evidence of that. I would say it's akin to all those full tanks of gas that there's no evidence they're full. Like,
okay.
you need something a little bit more. Say when you allowed it in, give me you got security cams, show they didn't move, like something.
There is a picture of a truck field.
Picture of a truck field. Okay, are they full or empty? Does the picture show?
They to be full.
Does the picture show? Exactly. I don't blindly trust Israel at this point because of times they've lied about aid specifically.
Do you not blindly trust them, or do you distrust them blindly?
I ask for evidence. There is not actual evidence there. Same thing as the fucking oil tankers. Like, there's no evidence of it. There's no evidence proving the actual claim. There's evidence that there are trucks in this location.
Okay.
That doesn't prove an actual claim there.
It says they're on the Gazan side. I'm not.
Yes, I'm not saying that there's no trucks on the Gaza side.
Anything contradictory.
I'm not saying there's no trucks on the Gaza side.
Why would they be on the Gazan side if they haven't been checked yet?
I'm not saying that they haven't been checked. That's not what I'm saying. I said that we don't know they're full.
Okay.
I
would like to know that.
You're quoting or whatever that these guys are fucking trolls of the highest fucking degree. I'm looking at the one tweet. There's a recent it's March 21st. I referenced this tweet earlier. Basically, this is Alicia Kearns, MP in Britain. She responding to that Levy, that fucking troll from Israel.
Elon Levy.
They got actually fired recently. But anyway, as spokesman, he kept saying, "Oh, it's closed Saturday. The UN ordered us to close it Saturday, whatever." So this is her tweet or whatever. Grateful to @ Cameron that would be the Secretary of State of Foreign Commonwealth in the UK. For such clarity in his response to my letter, he confirms, contrary to some claims, the UN has not requested the Kerem Shalom crossing be closed on Saturdays. Israel closes it due to the Sabbath. Aid not getting into Gaza due to, quote, arbitrary denials by the government of Israel and lengthy clearances procedures, including multiple screenings and narrowing opening windows and daylight hours, end quote. Third, UK aid for Gaza has been routinely held up waiting for Israeli permissions. Some UK-funded aid stuck at border for just under 3 weeks waiting for approval. One of the key reasons for distribution is issues within Gaza. Israel is preventing the necessary staff from getting visas. This quote that I could show the quote that I'm referencing here. That this very long that the letter, official letter, and then the quote, and then this other. Okay, this is quote
I
tweeted
can't see the
by.
full thing. I just want to.
Oh, sorry.
Can you go
Oh,
to
I
the
see
left?
it. I see it. Ah.
Ooh, owned.
Um. All right. So this is then quote tweeted by our friends at Kogat. We suggest once again that this whole thread and the official letter or whatever
Okay,
the investigation. This
can
is
you-
by the way evidence, by the way, and that's all that Alicia Kearns was ever asking for was evidence of the claim. So here's Kogat quote: "We suggest once again that you meet with Kogat and hear the full scale of Israel's humanitarian efforts toward the Gaza Strip. The crossings aren't closed because of the Sabbath. They are closed on Sabbath by agreement with the UN to allow the UN to collect the aid transferred during the weekend, accumulate due to low logistic capacity. Israel does not block aid from going into Gaza. We are simply inspecting the aid for security reasons, and it's done effectively. We are able to inspect 44 blah 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 blah. Coordinating more aid to Gaza. We will facilitate. Everyone but Israel is saying that they are fucking blocking it, and in this case, they're saying that they closed it because of the Sabbath, and the UN is like, oh yeah, they closed it because of the Sabbath.
I
And
will.
Israel's like, and so
I also I have to point out. They say that they can expect 44 an hour at both crossings. So that's 88 an hour. That would mean the crossings are operating for
we
what?
are able to inspect 44 trucks.
2 hours, 2.5 hours a day. Like that's they're not even
wait.
they're not even following with their own capacity for
How
inspections.
fast can they do it? And can I
In that, it's on Casey's screen.
Oh,
44 an hour. Oh, and both crossings combined, right? So sorry,
Yeah.
so 4.5 hours a day. They're expected. They have more capacity. Than that.
That's what they. That's right from Kogat. That's what they say. Here's UN Secretary General, March 23rd. Gutierrez repeatedly noted the difficulties of getting aid into Gaza, for which international aid agencies have largely blamed Israel. Quote, here from this crossing. Oh, by the way, he went to the fucking crossing. He did a whole a press release right outside the fucking crossing. This quote. Here from this crossing, we see the heartbreak and heartlessness, a long line of blocked relief trucks on one side of the gates and the long shadow of starvation on the other, he said. About 7,000 aid trucks are waiting in Egypt's North Sinai province to enter Gaza, Governor Mohammed Abdul Shattah said in a statement. Okay, everyone, NGOs, UN, UNRWA, UNICEF, everyone is saying that Israel's black, and fucking the ICJ, everyone is saying that fucking Israel is arbitrarily blocking the fucking aid from going. Everyone is saying it. They're starving fucking children. Yeah, the weak children or whatever are first to die in such a famine or whatever. Everyone is saying it except Israel, and the U.S. has basically been quiet on it because you were a cucks or whatever.
okay. So where is the starvation happening?
Mostly in the North Gaza, as I understand it. Oh,
Do we have like a picture of just South Gaza?
There's like there's like what are they called? The above head satellite images.
Oh no! I mean of starvation, not of like the.
Well, most of the starvation that we actually do have video of is in South Gaza because it's people that have managed to flee that try to get medical care in South Gaza.
Okay.
They've like just recently fled from the north and arrive at hospitals, and then that's when there's more reporters.
In the south.
More. There's definitely still people that are not getting as much food as they need, but they're not like at the level of starvation yet.
Yeah.
In large part. Except like there's obviously like people with conditions for like children are more so in that boat.
Yeah.
What was your point with that?
No, I was just asking. It seems like the actual like distribution of it in the north is the bigger problem than the actual amount of trucks.
Yeah, because Israel's blocking that too. Bombing out the roads, shooting at the aid trucks, telling them they won't be safe if they go there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Israel is still blocking that. Israel could also open a crossing in the north. They have multiple.
Is it U.S.
Crossing in the north?
U.S.
What about
Special
the crossing?
Envoy for Humanitarian Aid David Settler said last month that the Israeli military strikes on Palestinian police officers were making it nearly impossible to distribute aid once it entered Gaza because security forces that normally protect aid from it. Basically, Israel hits the convoys as well. If there's security forces there, thanks Israel. Whose responsibility is it that people don't starve in Gaza?
I think it depends on who you ask.
We're asking you.
Israel's.
Okay. So do you think they should open a crossing in the north to allow aid in to the north directly?
I think so, yeah, and I think they should do as much as they can when they're safe.
When they are safe. What do you mean? Like in the future when they're safe, they should do as much as they can?
I want to ensure the safety of the aid workers driving the trucks going into the north.
Guys, that's still like just
From them
directly
being
on
another from
Israel.
Yeah, I agree. They shouldn't be killed by Israel. I agree.
How many trucks have been hit by Israel?
A
Many?
very good amount. I mean, I can count videos of like fucking at least 35, but there's
At
plenty more
least
reports
35.
that don't have videos. That's just videos.
I would like to see a number.
I don't have an exact number for you. Sorry, buddy. But we also don't have any reports of them being attacked by Hamas. So it would seem as though the issue here is Israel.
Has there been? I would imagine that Hamas has attacked trucks.
The closest that you can get, the closest that I've ever seen, would be the one video where their security forces, which are the police force of Gaza, this is how it operated beforehand anyways, were on top of a truck, but the truck was going to its place and everything, so.
I have to open up a new browser. Fuck. When was that? And what was the?
That was a while ago. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. It's like, I want to say at least, or at the most recent, probably like January that video is. But I didn't give you the exact date for it.
Note that if you might find people with guns trying to take aid trucks because it's anarchy. People are like literally killing themselves over the aid. That's the amount of starvation that we're talking about. People dying trying to swim out to the aid that fell in the ocean, or just fucking complete fucking chaos. Like you saw the flower massacre video up to the point where they just cut it off, right, with all the just the swarm of starving people swarming the aid. I mean that's the situation we're talking about.
Yeah. That I'm not saying it's not terrible. I just want to know, like, what's the best way to deal with this?
Well, I think that, yeah, let the trucks like go from the north, right? The seeming problem, bigger than, possibly even bigger than just allowing aid in, though there's still not even really enough getting into Rafah, is the ability to get it to the north. So if you can open up a crossing in the north, which they can, they have the ability to do, they have the manpower to do, and they have the facilities to do. The only explanation for not doing that is for blocking it.
And by the way, they are so like the defensive about not doing that. That the U.S. what we're going to throw $2 billion at building a port that's going to take 2 months and is not nearly as good as just driving trucks in. Like this is how stubborn Israel is being about even just letting fucking food in. We're like, oh fuck it, we'll build a port. And by the way, and apparently it was Netanyahu's idea all along. And he's probably going to use it for ethnic cleansing, but whatever.
Wait, I'm sorry. What?
Netanyahu suggested using the port to offload the Palestinian civilians. What a guy! And that
Where?
that's the question.
to
And
where?
it was also reported that it was actually Netanyahu's idea all along to build the port.
Do you have a source that you can
Yeah.
share on screen for this? I think it'd be very helpful.
Or which of those two claims? Oh, hold on.
We'll do Netanyahu wanting to export the Palestinians.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing is, export them to where? Because it doesn't seem like anyone else wants to take them.
Let's see. Let's see.
Now,
What's he said?
Red, I do
War
want
on
to say
Gaza.
if Casey can provide a. Oh,
Go ahead.
do you want to go first? Okay, I'll go first then. Red, if Casey can provide a clear statement from Netanyahu saying that this port is going to be, or they wish to use this port in order to take civilians from Gaza and push them somewhere else, that this could start leading into a pattern of pretty much pushing them out of land and then it becoming Israel's land. Therefore, maybe not killing everybody, but at least getting rid of them. Like, that you can
Like
connect
population
the dots
transfer.
to. Yeah, pretty much. Of like, yeah. You think you could connect the dots there if this part is true?
Where are they going? And are they going somewhere permanently? Like,
Well, when Israel's moved people, it's always been permanent. Like, they don't
Mhm.
let them back. There's no right to return once you're gone.
well, there's no right to return to Israel, like within its borders. Well,
No, also the West Bank. The refugees in the surrounding countries cannot move to the West Bank.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, like you ain't coming back. Is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like you're out, you ain't coming back.
If they want to use it, is it forced? Is it forced deportations or voluntary?
Is anything voluntary right now? Like if you're under the threat of constant bombing,
mhm.
are you really gonna say that that's voluntary? That's still forced. It's just not forced by holding a gun to your head directly, I guess, but it's still very forced.
What would the pattern be? I guess I'm asking.
What do you mean? Like the pattern of forcing?
Yeah. No. The pattern that would be shown by the introduction of um Palestinians from Gaza being deported.
Oh, what you probably see is that port is told, like, oh, this is the only safe area now. That's what I would guess.
Oh no. I'm saying what does this add to the pattern of Israel's actions in Gaza that would be consistent with like, oh, this is a genocide.
Well, I didn't say that
how
that
does
was
it
part of a
add to it?
genocide. I didn't say that was part of a genocide.
No, okay. Asking
Oh.
if
I missed that part of it. My bad.
yeah.
My chat was yapping.
Yeah, if there's like dots you connect. I didn't want to put in what dots you can connect there, just if there could be a pattern that could be traced. Because I'm trying to keep as much of my opinion out of this as possible.
It's been well reported that sort of plan A for Israel was to get Egypt to take Palestinians of mass, the number or whatever. There were some negotiations with the IMF about major loan forgiveness for Egypt. It was reported that those were the types of negotiations going on for Egypt to take Palestinians.
I mean, like the thing is, ethnic cleansing, like the forced deportation, is I'm pretty sure I said it earlier that it's explicitly not genocide.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fucked up, but it's not genocide.
Yeah. Like I forget when, and I wish I had a source. I'm sure I can find it, but I think they debated like basically ethnic cleansing, like oh should this be considered to be genocide, and the answer is just no.
But
It goes Bosnia.
most genocides start with the idea of ethnic cleansing. Here's a group of people, y'all need to leave. That's how it usually starts. and then those people don't leave, and that's how it usually ends. You know?
Yes, and that ending would be the genocide there.
Yeah,
Correct.
it wouldn't be the ethnic cleansing part, or the telling people to leave, anyways.
There wasn't a genocide in Germany before, everything happened. 'Cause beforehand, they were talking about exporting Jews from Germany, for example.
Oh, okay, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, no.
So,
There was a genocide in Germany. It just
Yeah.
during the time in which they just said, let's get the Jews somewhere else. That wasn't a genocide.
Well, also there was like forced transfers in Europe after the World War II.
Yes, but what I'm talking about, like the lead up to the genocide. That was the lead up. It wasn't the genocide.
Yeah.
Oh, the
So-
Netanyahu quote. So there is an asterisk on it in that it was reported that this is what he said in a meeting. So there's no exact exact quote and there's no audio. So yeah, put the asterisk next to it. But
Yeah.
on that part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you read the quote like in its
Oh.
entirety?
Netanyahu has
the
reportedly suggested that the new U.S.-built makeshift port of Gaza, which was installed to help ship aid to the besieged enclave, could be used to deport Palestinians.
Okay.
So it's possible, but we don't know. Either way, that's not.
Reportedly suggested. I was trying to find an exact source, but I was unable to. So put some asterisks on it.
Annika, you got chat questions? Because I feel like that's not.
Yeah,
That part of the conversation doesn't go.
Not many chat questions. There's not many chat questions in reference to that. So I personally have questions of my own. If you want to kind of phase this into like the next phase.
Hold
of
on, I
conversations
might-
about
I don't want to listen to your opinion though, Annika. You said you have questions you want to say. I would respect your opinion.
But questions aren't opinions.
okay.
The opinion is that you want to
I
say.
do have something.
Oh yeah, I
from
do have one
a
question actually. Yes.
Few days ago,
Oh, sorry.
under growing international pressure, Israel this month initiated a new route for delivery of aid directly into North Gaza, known as the 96 Gate. By March 20th, Kogat said at least 86 international aid truck had entered via the new crossing.
Yo, Kogat.
Is it a crossing or
better
is
just
it?
to ignore it? What do you?
Is it the crossing or is it the route that they told everybody to take through Gaza that still is not allowing enough up there? That is also where aid trucks are getting attacked.
It is it said initiated a new route.
That's a route. Yes, it's not a crossing.
What is the source? Red?
Reuters. I can.
Reuters. Okay. And we did have one question that I accidentally overlooked on this where they it was from MERP. They were asking about a zero state solution. I asked them to reiterate the question so that way I can kind of see it better, but I'm trying to find it in their like message log. But it was something along the lines of a UN overseeing of the state and it not belonging to either Palestinians or Israelis.
I would say that if we're gonna go zero state, go full out and just do nuclear war across the planet.
Okay, I found it. What do they think about a non-state solution? A NATO country, preferably Turkey, takes over the land and makes it a neutral UN zone.
I don't think
Let's
that would
ignore
go long
that
term.
Turkey part because I think it's a little bit of poking fun. But
There has to be UN involved. I believe even in two-state, you need these sort of monitors, these third-party monitors, basically to make sure that bad stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think the UN needs to be there, but like a no-state solution
is actually legitimate and important.
Okay, well, he's stupid. I think that a no-state solution is, in the way that he's describing it,
Okay.
you could convince me that it'll be a temporary thing for like a couple of years, but that's in no way a long-term solution. You're just breeding revolt again.
Okay.
Oh, what 88?
First off-
They did say the source was Reuters.
I dropped it in the group chat. Where the
All
crossing
right,
is.
I'll put the source into
Fuck, where is it?
group chat. All right, there you go. Okay, well I
Uh,
can't link that, but it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
picture. Oh, maybe I could I link it?
You can link it.
Maybe.
There's a link on it.
Yeah.
It
There you
is
go.
it is
There you go, chat.
an offense on kind of like kind of like a little bit above the middle, like the middle line of Gaza.
I don't. Where are we looking? Where is this group chat? Oh,
In
wait,
the group
gaming
chat with all of us.
chat.
Yeah, you wouldn't know where that group chat is, would you, Casey?
I don't know.
It's pretty
I
hard
thought
to find, right? Kind of like a college boy trying to find the clitoris, huh? You couldn't find it. You couldn't find that chat.
gross. What's the name of the thing we were talking about? Is it
Gate 96.
well, are we talking about something Shalom or something that's crossing
No,
or what?
Gate 96, dumbass.
Oh, we're calling it Gate 96. Uh-huh. But remembering that I don't that Kogat says things and they're never true.
So what I'm seeing from the BBC is that it's Israel says it's opened, but the aid convoys say that the army is stopping them from getting anywhere.
Yeah,
That's from BBC.
Can I get a source? I'm sorry. Can I get a source on that?
Yeah, me.
I also have an article here. It's March 1st, 2024. I don't know I don't know where to link it. I'm looking. It was New York Times. I'm quoting from it. This is March 1st, New York Times. An average of 96 trucks a day entered Gaza through February 27th. A 30% drop from January average and the lowest monthly average since before the ceasefire in late November, according to data from the UNRWA, the UN agency Gaza. Later on in the article, Israel's agency overseeing policy of the Palestinian territories, known as Kogat, pointed a finger at those distributing aid. As an example, the agency said that there were more than 200 trucks waiting to be picked up at the Karam Shalom, and that Israel has placed no limit on the amount of aid that can no limit. No limit. There's no limit on aid. Everyone could just drive right through. But there's no limit. Everyone in
Wait,
the
who
world
said
is
this
saying
again?
that's Kogat. That's a Israel agency overseeing policy for Palestinian territories, known as Kogat. Yeah, I mean, if you go down their fucking Twitter, the tweets or whatever, I mean, um, you cannot take what they say seriously.
Can you just drop it in chat real quick?
Oh,
you can.
I
just wanna
totally
look at it
forgot about
personally.
these chats. Whoops.
The what? The chat's what?
Yeah. Also, no limit doesn't mean drive right through, to be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it also doesn't mean you have to hold it up with your inspections in an unnecessary fashion, which is more so what they're doing. Hold up, that article said something in the description of it, and then I clicked on it and couldn't find the quote in the actual article, so I'm looking at other stuff.
Okay.
So.
I'm gonna reset my mic because there's a huge delay on everything right now, and I don't know
Oh,
why.
good. You can finally stop talking.
Yeah.
There's the March. So yeah, again, the UN is
Bite me.
deceiving. UN is deceiving. That's the really the question. Do you believe the whole world and all of the NGOs and international bodies that are saying that Israel is blocking the fucking aid, or do you believe that the Kogat Twitter account?
I mean,
or believe the Israelis or whatever. I mean, even CNN was pushing back on Netanyahu in an interview. When he kept on saying, "We're allowing it," yeah, but you're not allowing it. Like even when CNN is pushing back on a narrative, that means yeah, that you probably should be too, or pushing back on an Israeli narrative.
Okay, I will also say that 96 gate, whatever it is, the trucks aren't getting inspected there. They're getting inspected in Shalom, and so seemingly this is good. Not much has actually gotten through it so far, but seemingly that is good. They should also open up inspections around there though, so that they're not just two gates for the one amount of inspections.
Yeah.
It's not set up as an official border crossing in the way that a lot of other places are, so it would be you'd have to like set something up to do inspections there. They don't really have the facilities. It's not a big crossing, but they need to be doing stuff up there though. They need to be
I have another
what's it called?
tweet. So first of all, the tweet from Felipe Lazzarini, it says the Commissioner General of the UNRWA. It says hashtag Gaza for the second time this week. A food convoy has been denied to northern Gaza. Today, the Israeli authorities denied another convoy with much needed food supplies from going to northern where people are. Blah 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 blah. Kogat the quote tweeted it and says, perhaps if your organization wouldn't be so deeply involved with a terrorist organization and actually do humanitarian work as you should be, you would know that over the last month, over 308 trucks were coordinated to northern Gaza. None of those were at UNRWA trucks or whatever. Like, this is a troll account. The whole UNRWA thing about the terrorists or whatever, no evidence them having terrorists, even if that was true, 13 of 30,000 or whatever. But also no evidence has been shown except for the fact that apparently that they tortured UNRWA staff until they admitted that they were terrorists, which is a pretty great thing to do. Good job, Israel.
So is there any like actual evidence of being held up that isn't just speculation?
Every fucking single NGO in the whole fucking world saying it's being held up to by Israel. That's the fucking evidence.
Okay.
And the attacks of them. Like that's also holding them up. And the lines of aid trucks that are not allowed in.
Do we have like lists of backlogs?
What do you mean? Like from who are you wanting it from?
The aid organizations.
They have statements saying that they have a bunch of trucks waiting. You could see the trucks that are waiting on the one way.
Yeah, do we know how many, what kind of materials are inside them, etc., etc.?
Not specifically, no.
Okay.
But it's thousands.
I heard reports that some of the aid was going bad or whatever, but miscellaneous shit, food, medical stuff.
Good old Sinai Desert. It makes things go bad real fast.
Here's one of the NGOs that I mentioned is Save the Children. The humanitarian, this is about tweets, March 23rd, 24. Humanitarian response in Gaza, including US-funded humanitarian assistance, has been consistently and arbitrarily denied, restricted, and impeded by the Israeli authorities. Yargle.
So what would it take for you to admit that it's being restricted by Israel?
I am not sure. Because it seems to me like inspections take a long time.
If you do 44 an hour, then you could work an 8-hour day.
Insane claim.
That's what Kogat said.
Kogat says a lot of insane shit. That's true.
Yeah. I don't have an answer to that. It seems like it. I don't know. Let me reframe it. How many people are involved in operations like this?
In Kogat, I mean, I can tell you Kogat members. Pull up so I can get you the exact numbers.
And also specifically, how many are in the ground or on the ground doing inspections and shit?
Oh fuck! It took me to Kogat. Some stupid cognitive ability test. What the hell?
Well, let us do remember that pre October 7th, the trucks were being inspected anyway. No truck went into Gaza that wasn't inspected. So they say they obviously have capacity to do that.
Yeah, I mean they're also not fighting. They also weren't fighting an active war.
Yeah, but I mean, what they have, you know, the 300 people that you want to appoint to do that. I don't.
I'm trying to find a number. It's weirdly hard to find a number. Give me a sec, you guys. Yap.
Yeah, I figured that this is really the determinant, the factor of a lot of this actually.
Mhm.
If you are a believer of everything the IDF says, then you will never come to the conclusion that they're either doing war crimes or committing genocide. No matter what the thing is, they have a response. The video in Discord where the IDF murders two people and then buries them with a bulldozer. The IDF's response was that they looked that they said yes, that was us, but they looked suspicious, and we suspected them of having a bomb, so we buried them. That was their response.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, I've never defended any individual claims.
but you keep keeping the IDF's word as if it was something to be trusted, which is
Well, yeah,
it's never been that.
we have two different sources of information. We have, well, more, but two main sources of information: the Israeli side and the Gazan side. And
And then we
I,
have the aid orc side. That's the third, or that's a third side, bro.
yeah, but they are privy to less information as the other ones
They
are.
know why their trucks aren't getting through when they're told why they're not getting through.
Yeah, like they are privy to the aid information.
Hmm. If if Israel didn't want any aid, or if Israel really wanted to block aid, why are they letting in aid at all?
So that they don't get ass fucked by the international community.
Yeah, that's the same that same lazy question of like, oh, they're doing a genocide. Well, why haven't they done it yet? Why haven't they nuked it or whatever? They're always walking the line of what they can and can't get away with. And October 7th has allowed them to get away with quite a lot.
Well, it seems like according to you guys, they've been getting away with a lot for what, 50, 60 years?
They
Uh,
have. It's been a consistent policy. However, we're talking
so-
specifically about this war, and this war is
Yeah,
last 6 months.
So why do they need to pretend?
Because they have to toe the party line. They have to toe the line of, for example, right now Biden's getting more and more pissed off. They have to toe that line because they still need him. They need the Western world on their side. If they do something just a touch too much, they lose that.
Mhm.
And they're seeing that, but
Yeah,
they have to toe that line.
do they still need the United States?
fuck yes.
I mean, unless they're gonna use their nukes, yes.
I'm pretty sure that they don't at this point. They need international
have.
trade because they don't grow enough of their own food, but they're wealthy enough.
I think
They need the support to give them weapon.
I think I read
They
that
can't
like
make
a lot of
their-
their
They
weapons
can't
are
make
like
or buy their own.
a lot of the
Well,
weapons are based off of like the U.S. shells or whatever, and I know that they made an arrangement to get some from Pakistan who makes the same shells, but a lot of their rearmament basically almost exclusively is like U.S. like armament about U.S.
Yeah.
stuff or whatever.
And they also, Russia and China have both said that they will not aid their military apparatus. And if you have Russia, China, and the US all going, no, we're not going to fucking fund your military ain't going to do too well.
Okay. So then you're saying this is a cover. This is plausible deniability for a genocide.
Plausible deniability for a lot of things, but yes, yes, that.
Doesn't that kind of run counter to like standards for special intent?
What? That you did a little bit, so you cannot be proven to have done this? Then you have to look into the intent as to why you did it.
Plausible
Was it?
deniability? Yes. Then we get to the same point.
Then you have to, you look into that further. You can have. You don't need a plan. That's just not.
No. That is absolutely true.
No, you don't.
You can't expect him to have privy information about what's floating around the idea of fucking generals or whatever. To say that
Mhm.
when something gets leaked where it says explicitly what they're doing, then we can't assume that that's what they're doing.
So
We
you do
can-
assume that that's what they're doing.
I assume that what they're showing is what they're meaning to do.
Question.
I agree with Gorp earlier. I think Plan A was to bomb and bomb and bomb and then get them into the cyanide. I think that was Plan A, and I don't think they have a good. I don't think they know
Yeah,
what they're doing.
I mean that's just incompatible. We have the precedents that Nolte cites that fuck the other justice, I'm forgetting their name, cite that in absence of a plan, the only way you can show special intent is through actions that can only be seen as genocide.
We already talked about this, though.
Yeah, I know, and
The Uyghurs, right? They're just doing counterterrorism. That's all they're doing because that is their plausible deniability.
I'd also say that the
Right,
bar
but
met that standard. You have to explain the
No,
what is the
we haven't.
But what
what
up?
is the
Shut up,
reason for
shut
the
up, Casey.
blockade?
Casey, shut up.
No, let Casey go. Gorb.
That's
I
all I
wasn't done
wanted-
finishing my point. I wasn't finishing my point.
Finish your point, and then you let Casey go.
Yes, we talked about it earlier, and you agreed to it. That just because there's another reason, or just because there's this other weird thing, does not completely denounce the idea of the intent to do the genocide. And you admitted to this. The courts also do admit to this
Yeah, I mean,
by showing a pattern of the evidence being able to imply the pattern of fucking destroying Gaza. Like we've talked, I'm not going to go back through every single point that we've already talked about. But this pattern of evidence can be used to imply. What?
Is
every word genocide? No. Because there's a pattern of evidence, there's a pattern of statements, there's a pattern of all of this that does not exist in every war.
Okay. I mean,
Like you are allowed to imply the dolo specialis from the actions that have been taken by both the specific person in an ICC case as well as other people that are involved in this. You can imply that. You can infer that.
mhm.
Specifically said.
I mean, the thing is, it is plausible in this case, is it not?
It is plausible. What, genocide? Yes.
That they're not planning on doing a genocide.
You can make the case. I don't believe it. Like I'm sure you can make a case. I don't think that that's realistic.
Is it reasonable?
I don't think it's realistic. I'm sorry, I don't blame you for thinking that.
Mm-hmm.
I see why you think that. I don't think you're right.
Okay. If it is a reasonable explanation, it does not meet the.
No. I'm saying you having your thoughts is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean, or is understandable, is actually what they said. But that is understandable. It is just not accurate.
My question is,
I will, like,
even if in the standard that has been proposed, what is your reasonable explanation for Israel blocking so much aid from getting in? If we have arrived to the fucking conclusion, and again, if you're going to take the IDF's word for things, then you'll never get to that conclusion, but because they'll always have an answer.
Yeah, maybe they're just not doing a genocide.
Forget about genocide. I asked specifically, what is the reasonable explanation for Israel not letting in the aid that is piled up for literal miles outside of the border? What you said that there could be
Are there literal miles of trucks right now?
yes, in Egypt.
Yes, videos. You can find videos on videos on videos on videos. Miles, literal miles of trucks.
Mm-hmm. I mean they have to do inspections. They apparently don't work on Saturdays, for logistical reasons, as well as it being the Sabbath. Yeah.
Logistical reasons that the UN denies.
Well, hold on.
It's blamed on the UN. The UN denies it.
Kogat says that they don't let them in on Saturday because the UN doesn't or something.
Okay.
And then the UN said no, we don't stop it.
Exactly.
Like, at the end of the day, this is, and again, 44 trucks, an hour. They have the ability to put more people, but even at 44 wait, stop.
It does seem to be nonsense.
That's what they said. 44 trucks a day. They can get through. Oh, sorry, an hour. They can get through. That, with the current amount of trucks, you ain't even working an 8-hour day, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Let alone having rotating shifts or anything. The ability is there. By Israel's own admission, the ability is there. And by Israel's history of doing it.
All right. I feel like we've just reached an impasse on this.
Yeah. we're going around in circles with this, so I do want to wrap up the trucks, and I feel like everybody that's in the chats can make up their decision on that, because clearly there's not much more room that you can really. You guys have given your evidence, and Red has provided counterpoints to said evidence, and it's up to chatters to kind of believe what is true at that point,
Yeah.
or do
Okay.
further resource or research.
Mhm.
I would like to at least for a moment move on to like the apartheid thing, because like the idea that this organization is doing like they're blocking it, like I could understand like if you don't like if you're not considering like the sort of the state of Israel that they're always in, that they don't treat these people like human beings or whatever, like ever. You know, then that would seem like a weird thing of this organization. Right? Oh, they're like the U.S. Army or something like. But I think it's quite different, and because of this sort of state of apartheid, which have existed for 50 years or so, that again that these Palestinians
I
are
have to point out that he did not
living
provide
under
any valid
military rule of a
counterplane,
country that they're not
counter
owed
explanation there.
citizenship to. I would say is the baseline of the argument for apartheid.
Mhm. Gorp, you want to go?
In regards to apartheid, I think it's pretty obvious. You had said earlier that you think that technically it isn't. I think it would probably be more productive, because I feel like I've heard you admit that like maybe it could be. Maybe I think it would be more productive. And what do you think is making it technically not? Because I could go through a million points. And I feel like it's a waste of time.
I think I would probably agree with pretty much everything. Every point. The thing is, it seems to be the discrimination in place seems to be national, or like due to geography and citizenship rather than race. There's just a massive overlap with race.
So the only reason that you think it's not is because it's not race.
Mhm.
Okay, I think that's a cop out reason, but yeah.
I mean, technically.
Technically, you could probably argue in front of the court and win, but
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's in front of the court.
yeah, it's hardly. It's that's what the UN investigator in the West Bank is on, and he's faced
Yeah.
so much criticism because he's not doing his job, and he hasn't been for years. But that's a whole separate story. I think that you could very easily make the case that just because it's an ethnicity and not a race, it can still apply as a apartheid. But if you don't disagree on like the actual points of it being, if it doing the thing of apartheid just to an ethnicity, if you don't disagree with that, then I feel like we can move past it.
I like there's some maybe gray area around Israeli Arabs living in like Ariel, but um
What do you mean?
like settlers are not just Arabs, right?
The settlers are Jewish. They're ethnically the Arab. There are Arab
In
Israelis, and they're not allowed to go in. They're not allowed to. They're not given the houses in the settlements. At least it's extremely rare for them to be.
Wait.
Those
Are you talking about in Israel? What do you mean by what specifically do you mean?
let me pull up my citation. I believe there are some Arab Israelis that live in settlements.
Oh, I'm sure there are, psychologically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
They're 20% of the population. It would make sense.
But
yeah.
it's like it's less. It's like 1%. I've looked at the number. It's like
Mhm.
1, maybe 2% of the settlements are of the Arab Israeli population. It's just
Yeah.
it's very difficult that for them to to get all that the housing is subsidized, by the way. It's that
Yeah. So there's some. But
Yeah.
what does that have to do with it? Like,
That
where are you going with that?
yeah, basically the main point of apartheid is domination over another race
Mhm.
or races.
Mhm.
And that category is better suited by citizenship and geography.
Well, the Arab Israelis also don't have equal rights. Shit, like that doesn't exist in Israel.
And what rights do they not have?
Take 2018, where there's a constitutional law change that, first of all, officially enshrined it more so than it was before as a nation for the Jewish people. Same thing promoted settlements, downgraded Arabic's status in Israel from an official language. Palestinians are basically blocked from leasing about 80% of the state land that everybody else can lease. And there's also like planning and zoning that forces Palestine or Arab Israelis out of certain areas. So that you have completely Jewish areas. It's also about 35 villages holding like 70,000 people that are specifically unrecognized because they are Bedouin villages, and they have no access to the electricity or water supply from the national government. They consistently get targeted for demolitions, and they're also like, because of the status of being unrecognized, they don't have as many political rights. They don't have access to the healthcare that America gives them, or the state education.
Okay.
That's among other things, but that's just like an easy, quick thing that you can go Google all of those easily find.
I don't think that quite goes into like being exported after you were a citizen to a designated area. They can vote, they can hold office, they can get
No, not these people.
Which people?
These are people that were effectively withstood the Nakba and stayed in villages.
Oh, so you're talking about a specific group of people who didn't get citizenship?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
they have like some, I don't know,
and geography. Yeah.
Well, why didn't they get citizenship?
I'm not sure. Why didn't they get
because they are Palestinian.
How come?
Like because they are Palestinian, because they refuse.
All the other
they
got citizenship.
Because the other Arab Israelis asked for it. They like you shouldn't have to ask for citizenship to be a citizen of the nation you live in. Like if you were born, raised, spent your whole life there. You shouldn't have to go like make a whole plea to the government, fight to the government, move to specific cities because you had to move to specific cities to actually get that citizenship. That should not be a qualification.
There are people in my chat, by the way, who have a problem with the ethnic breakdown descriptions here. So I posted a link that they suggested that we look over the first paragraph on it, because they say that everybody is getting it wrong here. So
can you link hers in my chat so I can get it easier?
I linked it into the
it's in the group
chat,
chat.
But yeah,
I think I got a little confused there about what we were referring to. So let me just break it down. So we got the 1947-48. 750,000 Arabs are either slaughtered or removed at gunpoint or running from is forced are removed and not allowed back. Many of those that is the majority of Arabs in that were in Palestine, by the way, are removed to these to to then now West Bank and Gaza and then to northern Lebanon. So to say that, and by the way, there were certain circumstances that, like for example in Bethlehem or whatever, I think that the IDF
so the people
person
not
that
in
was
the country.
Yeah, in 48 they were removed from Israel proper, right? Or what became Israel proper, but so
removed or fled, yes.
No, they were fucking removed. They didn't. It doesn't matter why. By the way, yeah, you could say fled. I don't care how the fuck I fucking leave my house. I don't care if it's fucking I'm fleeing a fucking military coming at me, or if I'm fleeing, or if I'm going to the fucking store. But if I'm not allowed to go back to my house, I've been removed from my house. So to say any sort of cope to say otherwise is if you're not letting me come back to my house. I've been removed from my fucking house, and in this. And a lot of them were removed at gunpoint. So also, but anyway, so I don't that sort of is an Israeli coping point. Anyway, so right, so and then that's up to 67, and then in 67 they end up controlling Gaza and the West Bank, or a military occupying. And it's not like a normal sort of occupation, because like, or a normal part of like invasion or annexation. Like for instance, the world doesn't recognize Crimea for Russia's annexation of Crimea or whatever. And there's, but it's not like the Russia's like, we want the land here, but everyone fucking needs to leave because we don't want the people, or that is a certain a certain sort of evil thing that has never led to good things. They occupy the West Bank and Gaza. They move their citizens into those places, but they won't give the people their actual citizenship, and so that they have been not had citizenships to any country for the last 50 years. So those are the Palestinians. They're Palestinians. Anyway, just so we're all on the same page.
Okay, wait.
Oh.
Is there a I looked at the link. Is there any contention here about Arab Israelis and Palestinians being the same group?
So
No.
they ended up being some like hundreds of thousands ended up in the borders of Israel. So
Yeah.
and those people, those are the people that we usually refer to as Arab Palestinians, or sorry, Arab Israelis.
Yeah.
Whether or not they call themselves Palestinians varies.
Like there's
Yeah,
some
it does
there's some
vary.
that are not Palestinian, but that's not a
Yeah.
big factor here.
Merp says there might not be Arab Israelis, but Palestinians are not Arab Israelis, and that Palestinians are not Arab. And then
In the classification of Israel is what we're talking about.
This is what Merp is saying.
But okay.
So I'm just throwing it out there, and that's why they're linking. So I just want.
Yeah, it's about the classification by Israel. Like
that's what I put out into the chat. I said, aren't they referred to as Arab Jews on the census and polls? And they said,
wait. Or there's Arab Jews. There are Jews who are Arabs. That is the Sephardic Jews. That's different from than Arab. When I say Arab Israelis are Palestinians that are just living in that are given citizenship to Israel. So it's important. Yeah. So,
yeah. Arab Jews are Jews. Other the classifications here.
Correct. Yeah.
What Israel qualifies them as does not matter, is what Merp says. Well, Merp.
I honestly I don't know where to take that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Merp took a little bit too much cocaine today, and so we should just move on from that.
I love Merp, but I ain't coming down with the hammer on this on this one for this particular stream, because I do want to get off of Gaza like within the next 30 minutes, if possible, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically the point is there are citizens in Israel that have the same category, whatever you want to call it, race, ethnicity, etc., as people in the West Bank.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can move past this.
Yeah.
Let's just move past that.
It's kind of a nothing thing.
The real question I want to like end the whole. Oh, sorry. You just finished. You finished.
Yeah. What the fuck was I saying?
It's a nothing burger.
Yeah, it's kind of a nothing burger.
We're using alternative facts over here.
It doesn't mean that anything done that people cite as being apartheid isn't happening, or that it's not bad. I mean, yeah.
At the end of the day, there's an apartheid system, whether or not it's the racial apartheid. It's the same system that has existed, and if we can agree on that, then we're good. We can move on.
Okay, so the general question that I kind of want to just end this all on is that I want to figure out what Gorp and Casey's preferred response to the Hamas attacks would have been, for one. Like, what do you think would have been the appropriate response to October 7th?
I would say a little bit of bombing would have been warranted, obviously, specifically with precision-guided weaponry that is much less likely to miss its target or kill much more than it needs to kill, and then a very intense ground invasion. Obviously, I am not a goddamn genie. I cannot predict how that would have been carried out and if that would have been perfect. However, that's what I would have preferred, and that's what I've been saying since practically day one of this war.
Casey?
It's important to remember the realities of um, evil Hamas and their history of doing very very evil things. Such that I'm looking for my fucking chart. Such that in the 14 years prior to October 7th, that would be so under Hamas rule, the Palestinian slash Israeli deaths in that conflict have been 6,000, over 6,000 on the Palestinian side, mostly civilians, vast majority civilians, and on the Israeli side, 300. That is the fucking ratio. And if anyone wants to talk about fucking stupid Iron Dome, it's not it. In the 10 years prior to the Iron Dome existing, only 25. I don't like to say only when civilians are being killed. 25 civilians died of Hamas rockets. These rockets are fucking. They're absolute fucking shitters. Please. Anyway, so that is the fucking state on October 6th of 2023. The last 14 years under this evil Hamas ruling, 300 Israelis died and 6,400 Palestinians, largely civilians, have died. So the proper Israel response to the people that you have been murdering for the last 14 years, hitting back, the people that you have been kept in a siege, a prison, for which you control all borders to. I don't want to hear about Egypt shit. To in and out. The people that you have limited food, diapers at a time, forbidding tampons from entering Gaza. Very special people. These IDF.
Well,
People.
fuck the women though. We can all agree on that, right?
Well,
Hey.
what's the proper response to them hitting back at you after 50 years? The proper response is to give these people their fucking freedom. Give them their fucking state. And fucking give them their. That's the fucking response. That's the fucking proper response. That's the only way out of the cycle of violence. Um,
Okay, so we've established that Casey doesn't know what a genocide is. Casey doesn't have reason when it comes to response to a violent attack. Whether or not it was justified doesn't matter. Doesn't have any reason when it comes to response to a violent attack. And the worst crime of all in this entire debate and in general, Casey's a VTuber.
We gotta ask Casey, do you condemn Hamas?
fuck no, I don't condemn Hamas.
Okay, all right, moving on.
Alrighty. So I'll ask Red. Do you condemn any of the actions that Israel has taken that has been wrong, like any innocent civilian deaths or reporters or any type of denied aid that doesn't have explanation in your eyes? Do you condemn these actions?
Yeah, if they don't have a explanation.
Is there
Then-
any that you would condemn that you think there isn't enough of an explanation to justify it?
The flower massacre seems very sus.
You condemn them for that then?
I will probably look into it at some point, and depending on what I read. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good place to just end
I
the
yeah.
Gaza. So I'm getting tired of the Gaza. So this is why I don't stream too much Gaza content. Is that
This happens.
I leave that to Casey and Gorp. I think they do. Personally, I think they do good streaming content covering like news and stuff like that. So I kind of take the more debate / discussion route while they do the more like news coverage a lot of the time route. So
You fucking debate lord.
I am a debate lord. It's good for growth. Also, it lets me blow off steam. But anyway, I do want to like just move on into the next topic. And since we like answered a lot of the comments from chat, I think that kind of covers the chat's input on that until like the end, because anybody that comes in from the chat is going to be like absolutely bringing us back into the Gaza discussion.
Oh,
That's fair.
Oh yeah, 100%.
that's somewhat fair. I think that Ophi made a decent point that that Red isn't exactly as a Zionist. So at the very least, to say that this panel is not equally represented, I think it is a fair
Oh, I didn't
thing
claim to
do.
equally.
That is true. Can I LARP? Can I LARP?
You want to troll you?
We need to bring the cows and the Jews to Judea and Samaria so that Armageddon can come, and so that everybody who's not a good Jewish boy goes to hell. But then simultaneously, the evangelicals can come and fight us. And so actually, in reality, it's all the evangelicals that go to heaven, and everybody, the rest of humanity, dies.
Kill the cow, build the temple. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.